Good morning from the Circus Sports at the Mid-Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Ross Johnston. Breaking news out of Buffalo this morning as the Bills have fired head coach Sean McDermott after 9 seasons, 7 of them with double-digit wins and 5 straight AFC East titles, the 10th opening now in the NFL. In the playoffs, Championship Sunday is set for next week. The Patriots and Mike Vrabel are back in the AFC Championship for the first time since 2018 and will face the Denver Broncos on the road, who will be without Bo Nix due to a fractured ankle he suffered on Saturday in overtime versus the Bills. Backup Jarrett Stidham will get the start. In the NFC, it will be an NFC West battle between the Rams and the Seahawks in Seattle, the third meeting of the season for those two teams, with the series tied at 1 apiece. And lastly, in Titans news, their head coaching search is down to 3 names. Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy will interview this morning. 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh, who will be in Nashville today, and Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley, who will interview in person tomorrow, but is a front runner in Miami as he will be interviewing with the Dolphins today. And tonight, the College Football Playoff National Championship will be kicking off at 6:30 with Indiana and Miami taking each other on at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. Indiana is favored by 8.5 over the Hurricanes. For all your foundation repair waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news and watching your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Good morning. Happy Monday. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day to everybody. Great to be here. Lucas Panzica with you. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Anything to talk about today? Anything going on? Coaches being fired, more added to the NFL coaching carousel, Titans search being finalized, a national championship game today, conference championship set in the NFL. Much to discuss as Buck has gallivanted on down to Miami on the Indiana bandwagon to Hard Rock Stadium, where he will be in attendance tonight for the national championship game between Indiana and Miami. Robert Walsh is out for the count. Food poisoning has eliminated Robert from today's show. Maybe we get an update tomorrow if he feels well enough to pick himself up off of his bathroom floor. We need to have a discussion, by the way, about what put Robert down for the show today, because I have a gripe with the thing that he believes is the culprit for holding him out today, but we hope he feels better and that we see him tomorrow. Ross Johnston is making the show happen. Sean McDermott has been fired as the head coach of the Buffalo Bills after a playoff exit Saturday night against the Denver Broncos, 33-30 the final, and that adds a 10th opening to this NFL coaching carousel. Of course, one has already been filled, 2 rather, have already been filled in the New York Giants and the Atlanta Falcons. How does it affect the Titans, who are reportedly finalizing their coaching search? What does it mean for the Buffalo Bills as they move forward here with Josh Allen in this window? Ross, good morning.
Good morning, Lucas. A lot of stuff going on today.
Plenty going on today. We want to hear you guys involved. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. As if we didn't have enough to talk about on this Monday, an insane day of divisional playoff action in the NFL. We had officiating decisions that were controversial. We had turnover-laden performances everywhere, almost every quarterback on the losing end over the weekend. We'll say any quarterback that lost a competitive game over the weekend had a turnover meltdown. That includes Josh Allen, that includes C.J. Stroud, and, of course, Caleb Williams last night in a loss against the Los Angeles Rams. But, Ross, appreciate you being here, and we will be with you until 1 o'clock. Again, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, who should fuel your watch party tonight if you need something to munch on while you're watching the national championship game at Hard Rock Stadium. Ben Jones will be with us at 11 o'clock. Brett Kern will be in studio in hour 3. Looking forward to hearing their perspective on this decision by the Buffalo Bills. Sean McDermott, 9 seasons, 98-50, 8-8 in the postseason, 2 AFC championship game appearances, no Super Bowl appearances, 1 losing season as the head coach of the Bills, and he is out. A premium job opens. Now there are 2 open jobs that are instant, plug-and-play Super Bowl contenders in a window with 2 of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, the last 2 MVPs in the NFL as we await to see who will be the MVP of the 2025 season. And both the Ravens and Bills now are looking for a head coach. a lot of different facets, offshoots of this conversation. But the first thing that came to mind for me when this news comes down and Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport are scrambling on ESPN and on NFL Network to break this news. Ross, I did not watch that game on Saturday and come away thinking about coaching in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, I saw your tweet. I know you didn't come away with that opinion.
In Denver. I mean, that is pretty far down on the list of what lost the Buffalo Bills that game. Now, the thing is, a common response here is going to be officiating. Officiating also did not lose the Buffalo Bills that game. 5 turnovers from Josh Allen, almost 6, by the way. He had a fumble that was recovered by the offense. But 5 turnovers by Josh Allen, 6 turnovers by the Buffalo Bills offense as a whole is what led almost directly to a loss in this game. Josh Allen not capitalizing on key opportunities laid out for him in overtime to put the Bills in position to win, missing a touchdown throw, a would-be touchdown to Dawson Knox, missing a throw right before that interception by Jalen McMillan that would have also put the Bills in position to win the game on a game-winning field goal. And I can't imagine how Josh Allen is feeling this morning.
Probably not too good. I mean, obviously very emotional in his press conference after the game on Saturday, but we were talking about before the show, just not like Josh Allen at all. I mean, the play at the end of the first half where you're, just take it to the half, man. And instead we're trying to lateral it to an offensive lineman or just holding the ball like a loaf of bread, and Denver's getting a field goal out of it, man. It was just bad.
Turnovers leading to 16 Broncos points.
And it
Saturday.
wasn't the worst quarterback performance of the weekend either.
C.J. Stroud, man.
It's been ugly.
Troy Aikman had a lot to say about C.J. Stroud on the broadcast, rightfully so. I mean, I don't know what has happened with C.J. Stroud this year. It was a weird kind of bumpy start to the season, riddled with injuries. Davis Mills starts some games. They had a tough start to the year. Stroud, after he got over that stretch where he's missing 3 consecutive games, gets in and kind of settles in. Obviously, the Texans have the number 1 defense in the league. And then he gets into the postseason and has a meltdown performance in Pittsburgh. Houston defense wins them that game. They score 2 defensive touchdowns. And then another meltdown performance in New England. 28-16, the final at Gillette Stadium. C.J. Stroud, 4 interceptions in the driving snow in Foxborough. And another part of this conversation, as the New England Patriots and Mike Vrabel, who I add parenthetically, is the longest tenured coach now in the AFC East, are a game away from being in a Super Bowl in year 1 of the Vrabel era. And who stands in their way? Jarrett Stidham. Jarrett Stidham stands in the way of the New England Patriots.
It's going to be primetime football, Lucas. I hope you're looking forward to it.
Well, the Patriots have had the cards fall their way, right? Like the chips have fallen in the most perfect way imaginable for New England. A last place schedule has been exactly that. It's the easiest schedule in the NFL throughout the regular season. You face the Houston Texans and C.J. Stroud, a quarterback that just can't hang on to the football. And then you go up against the Denver Broncos, who will be without Bo Nix for the rest of the postseason, fractured a bone in his ankle. We'll hear from Sean Payton on that. And obviously, Drake May and this Patriots offense is going to have to deal with the ferocious Broncos front. But if the Patriots do get to the Super Bowl, we will have a discussion about the path that was paved. But to their credit, they took advantage of it.
See, yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Josh Allen has not.
Yeah.
Taken advantage of a postseason that does not have Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, or Lamar Jackson.
It's one of those things. People are going to always be talking about something negative with teams that win. It's just what the media does, what we do. And so for all the talk about the Patriots' easy schedule, well, what were they supposed to do? Lose those games? I mean, you play the schedule you've got. They can't control that. They win games. And, they've got a great opportunity this weekend.
Some teams take advantage, some don't. The Buffalo Bills did not. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Bibbidi Bobbidi on the F&M Bank chat, where you can chime in on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, says, where the hell is Bert? I needed him to do his baby Josh Allen impression. Robert would be doing his baby Josh Allen impression if he was here. I promise you, nobody more gleefully watched the downfall of Josh Allen on Saturday than Robert Walsh, but we'll see if he's able to feel well enough to come in tomorrow to give that to us. So, of course, as it relates to the Tennessee Titans, who have reportedly narrowed down their coaching search to 3 finalists, what does the Sean McDermott firing mean for the Titans, for other openings across the NFL? There are 8 jobs that Sean McDermott feasibly could take for the 2026 season as he immediately becomes one of, if not, well, he is with John Harbaugh now off to the New York Giants. That is official, done and dusted. By the way, it sounded like things almost got a little dicey there on the Harbaugh front. Ian O'Connor had some very interesting reporting of The Athletic over the weekend that on Saturday it was on the table that the deal with the Giants fell through, but it didn't, and the statements are out, and it's officially official. John Harbaugh is the head coach of the Giants. So now you've got Sean McDermott, who won 98 games in 9 years in Buffalo, came up short of the Super Bowl. But again, it's hard to come away from that loss on Saturday and feel like Sean McDermott was a pretty direct reason why the Bills lost that game. How does that affect coaching searches across the league that are narrowing things down, that are getting to second in-person interviews, including the Titans, that are going to have 2 conversations today and 1 tomorrow with their reported 3 finalists? Sean McDermott is an Andy Reid disciple from his time in Philadelphia. McDermott was a defensive coordinator under Reid. Before that, a defensive backs coach, a defensive analyst, before he took that job in Buffalo. And then, of course, Andy Reid went down to Kansas City. Is there a mutual connection there for Mike Borgonzi? Enough of one for the Titans to kind of halt things, to hit a reset button in their process, to fully evaluate all their options with Sean McDermott now on the table. They did it with John Harbaugh. The Titans did as much as they could, everything in their power to be in the conversation with John Harbaugh. Will they do the same with Sean McDermott with it being this late in the game, with a final hire expected to happen here in the next couple of days, as is typically the case when you're getting to this stage of a coaching search? So a lot to break down, a lot of hypotheticals, a lot of scenarios, and I know a lot of Titans fans lit up when they saw Sean McDermott has been fired by the Buffalo Bills. 615-737-1045. So where are the Titans in their coaching search at this point in time, and how does Sean McDermott potentially affect it all? We'll do it all coming up next.
The Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to help you if you're experiencing performance issues, because erectile dysfunction can wreck your confidence. It can impact your relationship, your mental health, and even your sense of identity. But there's good news. There's real help. Since 2014, the Tennessee Men's Clinic has helped thousands of guys get back to feeling like themselves. And they aren't cookie-cutter treatments that are on offer. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is urology-based and staffed with multiple licensed providers who specialize in men's sexual health. They use proven treatments tailored to your specific situation. No one size fits all. Whether you're dealing with mild or moderate ED, performance issues, or even conditions like Peyronie's disease, their medical team will work with you to create a plan that gets results, often with options most guys didn't even know were out there. The initial appointment is only $99 and includes a full medical consultation, blood work, and, if medically advised, a test dose right there in the office. So call them today at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090, or book easily online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
So in 2026, there will be 10 new head coaches in the NFL. The last time that happened was in 2022. Ari Myrov dropping this morning. The last time 10 coaching changes were made in the NFL, 2022. Welcome back. Lucas Panzica with you until 1 o'clock. Ross Johnston making the show happen. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Ben Jones coming up at the top of the hour. We will get plenty of divisional round reaction, coaching carousel reaction, and a little national championship preview with former Titan center Ben Jones. 10 new head coaches in 2022. Ross, how many of those 10 hires from 22 do you think have already been fired?
Oh, gosh. It's hard to even think of who they would be off the top of my head. I'll say 4 have already been fired.
8 of them.
8.
Talking about 4 years ago.
You got the list on you?
Brian Daboll with the Giants, Mike McDaniel with the Dolphins, Matt Eberflus with the Bears, Nathaniel Hackett with the Broncos, Dennis Allen with the Saints, Josh McDaniels in Vegas, Doug Peterson in Jacksonville, and Lovie Smith in Houston. I mean, some of those teams are on their 3rd head coach since 2022. The only 2 coaches still standing from that cycle, Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota and Todd Bowles in Tampa, which who knows how long the leash is for Todd Bowles in Tampa at this point.
Pretty short, it feels like.
615-737-1045 is how you jump in. We are also on 1045 The Zone TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Sean McDermott is out as the head coach of the Buffalo Bills after 9 seasons, 98-50 in that time, 1 losing season. And another premier job is open with the franchise quarterback and immediate Super Bowl contender next to Baltimore is open as they look for a new head coach. So immediately, Titans fans' brains started firing off with all sorts of possibilities, right? Myself included. It's hard not to. And the question you got to ask here for the Titans, who, to their credit, like Mike Borgonzi said, have cast as wide a net as possible in this coaching search. I mean, you talk about the range of some of the candidates that they've talked to, or at least reached out to, at the very least. To their credit, they tried everything in their power to be in on the John Harbaugh sweepstakes. They had a meeting set up. Stands to reason they would have had a competitive offer for Harbaugh if they got to that meeting, right? All the way over to the likes of Mike McDaniel and Brian Daboll and Jeff Hafley, Matt Nagy, some of the finalists we're seeing now, to Jason Garrett, who hasn't coached in a number of years. A very wide net. And the Titans, you cannot say, have not done their due diligence to this point in the search. But now, with Sean McDermott, at the very least in the picture of available head coaches, can you truly say you've done your due diligence if you're not, at the very least, kicking those tires and exploring that possibility? I don't know how you can. But at this point in the process, when you're finalizing these second interviews and you feel like you've got your 3 finalists for the job, how much do you have to weigh the risk-reward of halting the process to gun for Sean McDermott if you're the Titans? That's the question here, as they are set to meet with Matt Nagy and Robert Saleh today and Jeff Hafley tomorrow. Now, Jeff Hafley is in Miami today, and the smoke there is he's the favorite in Miami, which makes sense. Hafley, the defensive coordinator of the Packers. Obviously, Miami just hired John Eric Sullivan as their new general manager right out of the Packers front office. So, those 3 getting the second interviews, it feels like going into today, it was down to Matt Nagy and Robert Saleh. But how much, if you're the Titans, do you have to factor in Sean McDermott here and do it in a way that doesn't potentially put you in a place where you're left with no one else in the room at the end of the day? Now, with that said, and I think this is something Titans fans take issue with, Matt Nagy doesn't seem to be a serious candidate much of anywhere else. So you have that. Robert Saleh has taken other interviews. He's had other conversations. And he, from the very beginning of this coaching carousel, has been thought of as an attractive candidate with the job that he's done with that Niners defense. An opportunity for a second head coaching job feels like something that's going to happen for Robert Saleh. It's not as much of a slam dunk for Matt Nagy as it is for Robert Saleh. I think we'd all be very surprised, right, if Saleh's not a head coach again at some point. 615-737-1045. But if you're asking the question, are you doing your due diligence? Are you casting as wide a net as possible if you don't exhaust every opportunity to talk to Sean McDermott? The answer has to be no, right?
I mean, it's tough, like you said, because of the situation with where we're at in the process. You know, if they were still in their first round of interviews, it's an easy yes, talk to McDermott. But even with where we're at, I think you gotta reach out and try to get an interview with him soon and get him in this process. Man, it's hard. You know, that's a guy. You would figure that's a guy that's going to want to coach again next year. You know, probably didn't expect to be fired if I had to guess. And you look at the list, he's the best guy now that Harbaugh's been picked up by the Giants. I mean, he's the number one guy out there because we all assume Mike Tomlin's just doing TV.
How's John Harbaugh feeling right now? Well, what is the hindsight? You know, Harbaugh has taken the job. He's inked. He's the Giants coach, and it's all eyes ahead, blinders on, fully engrossed in his new job. But if you're John Harbaugh or his representation, are you kind of looking around like, damn, just a few more days and Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills job would have been open?
He'll be close by. He'll be in East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Right there, right there.
He's going to be hoping his quarterback can stay healthy.
615-737-1045. Brandon in Lebanon is up first today. What's up, Brandon?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What you got?
So I called on Friday, and I called my shot, and I said Sean McDermott was going to get fired if they did not beat the Denver Broncos. And not to toot my own horn, but the thing is, I really think that if they, like you guys said, do not cast this wide net to go after him, because there's a good high probability that if they could get him in here, I know that Buffalo will probably interview Joe Brady, but there's a good chance that we could also get Joe Brady as our OC. So I'll hang up and let you guys talk. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Brandon. Joe Brady has had one of the strangest paths as this up-and-comer rising star in the coaching business, right? From being the hotshot guy at LSU, kind of in the shadows almost. Joe Brady wasn't even calling plays, or I should say by title, was not the offensive coordinator under Ed Orgeron at LSU when they won that national championship. But he was the hidden gem on that staff, right, as the passing game coordinator, so much influence on that offense. And then the stint in Carolina doesn't go well. He gets his opportunity with the Panthers in 2020 and 2021. Stock goes down. Ends up in Buffalo as the QB coach, takes over as the offensive coordinator. But Joe Brady was not on this list of candidates that everybody's trying to talk to in this coaching cycle. I think he maybe got one. I can't remember off the top of my head which team reached out to talk to Joe Brady. But it doesn't feel like, even with 10 openings in this cycle, Joe Brady was ever a real candidate to be a head coach. But to get him in here, if Sean McDermott, or for him to follow Sean McDermott wherever he goes. Now, the most enticing option that danced around in my head when it came to the thought of Sean McDermott as the head coach of the Titans was Brian Daboll as the offensive coordinator. And the Titans have spoken to Brian Daboll. Titans conducted a head coaching interview with Brian Daboll, and he was always one that you wondered if that was more about him being a serious candidate to be a head coach, or, again, casting a wide net, gathering intel, and even putting some of those candidates in the back pocket as potential coordinators for your next head coach, which is kind of how I think of Jonathan Gannon, who the Titans also spoke to, the fired Cardinals head coach who did a great job as the Eagles defensive coordinator. Now, Diana Rossini, not long after the Sean McDermott news broke, took to Twitter and said, talking to NFL executives around the league about Buffalo's next head coach options, the name that keeps coming up is a familiar one, a Buffalo native, and someone Josh Allen loves, Brian Daboll. The other part of this Buffalo coaching search, Brandon Beane's going to lead it. Not going anywhere as the general manager of the Buffalo Bills. And in fact, they've done a restructure here where Brandon Beane has been promoted to president of football operations / general manager and will oversee the coaching staff this morning as they cycle through the post-Sean McDermott change, and he will lead the charge for the next head coach. So I don't know how Buffalo fans feel about that. Because, again, on Saturday, you're watching Josh Allen turn the ball over. You're also watching Josh Allen do superhuman things, right? I mean, this was opposite ends of the spectrum on Saturday. The full Josh Allen experience. Wide-ranging.
The Brett Favre side of Josh Allen.
Exactly. But also, who's he throwing the ball to, right? He's throwing the ball. That play, the most ambiguous, was it a catch, was it not a catch in the NFL playoffs since the Dez play with the Cowboys back, a decade ago?
2014.
Against Green Bay. We all remember, did Dez catch it? This has kind of, I think this falls in line in that category, right, of those kind of plays in NFL history. Was it a catch? Was it an interception? We're talking about Brandon Cooks, though, on the other end of that. The lead receiver for the Buffalo Bills this season was a tight end. If I'm not mistaken, we can pull up their regular season stats. But my point is, if I'm a Buffalo fan, I have a hard time watching that game on Saturday and thinking about the parts and pieces that this roster is missing. And I'm thinking about that more than I am Sean McDermott's they got to get rid of the coach. Because we can do both things with Josh Allen, right? We can sit here and say he is probably the primary reason why the Buffalo Bills lost on Saturday. And also what Josh Allen did this season is incredible to bring the Bills to that point. Josh Allen was superhuman this season. 28 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, over 500 rushing yards. The touchdown numbers on the ground continue to be remarkable. Double figures, 12 touchdowns. His lead receiver was Khalil Shakir.
Dog.
Good player. But we're talking about Khalil Shakir with 821 yards as the lead receiver on a team that arguably has the best player in the league playing quarterback, the reigning MVP. Right? Keon Coleman is your second lead receiver, who's had not taken the leap that I think people hoped he would take and had some off-field stuff, right? Gets suspended. So I don't know how I feel about that if I'm a Bills fan, that Brandon Beane is the one that stays and Sean McDermott is the one that goes.
I was going to say, it seems like a very quick rise to power. I mean, you already had a position of GM, but, Brandon Beane getting propped up very quickly here. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I mean, that's obviously, I think you said it, like, it's got to be the most desirable job now out of all these openings.
No doubt. I guess the question is, what's the more desirable job, Buffalo or Baltimore? What's the more ready-made contender at this point in time?
What do you think?
I want to say Buffalo. I think there's more there on defense. And Baltimore took a huge hit with the Matabiki injury this year, but there were injuries. That was a huge factor there for the Ravens. And Robert could speak to this more than you and I certainly could. But I think the Bills have more on defense right now. The Derrick Henry situation in Baltimore is something to monitor. James Cook isn't going anywhere. He's got his deal. He led the league in rushing this year. Right now, at this point in time, not to mention in a division that will be wide open unless the Patriots just grab it by the horns here. Again, everybody except the Patriots making a coaching change in the AFC East. I would lean to say the Bills are a more attractive destination right now at this point. 615-737-1045. T-Man says, depends what happens with Derrick Henry in the offseason. Certainly a huge factor there. David in Nashville's up next. Hey, David.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for taking my call. My concern with the Titans is the quarterback position. With a young guy coming in like this, playing in a rookie season, and you got a coaching change coming around, how does that impact him? You bring in, no matter which coach you bring in, how's that going to impact the offense? And, trying to get some consistency under this young man's legs is a concern for me. So that's my question. I'll take it off air and let you gentlemen discuss.
Yeah, thanks for the call, David. Obviously, it's a huge component of the coaching search. We saw the Titans did not box themselves in any way the way they did 2 years ago, looking for Brian Callahan in terms of the offensive-minded, quote-unquote, quarterback guru parameters that they set up in that search. You're bringing in a coach that can put Cam Ward in the best position to succeed, but there is a common quality here, right, Ross, when you talk about the three finalists, like understanding Sean McDermott kind of hovers over the situation. And I will say it has set up now where John Harbaugh was the white whale. Sean McDermott's the new white whale. And whoever the Titans hire, if it's not Sean McDermott, will be viewed as a disappointment to many fans because Sean McDermott is suddenly out there. And look, I don't even know if Sean McDermott wants to coach this year. Like, Sean McDermott could go the Mike McCarthy route. He could go the Doug Peterson route. No idea. There are 8 jobs for him to choose from. Not something that happens very often, but That's part of this, too. No clue what Sean McDermott is thinking right now, as he's probably reeling. He was not planning 2 days ago to not have a job on Monday. But Matt Nagy, Robert Saleh, and Jeff Hafley seem to be the 3 finalists for the Titans. What do all 3 of those guys have in common? Can you tell me?
I cannot.
all 3 have been a head coach at some point, right?
Yeah, Hafley in college.
Hafley in college, not in the NFL, but in college as the head coach of Boston College. And again, he appears to be the favorite in Miami. He's there today. We'll see what happens out of that. But Jeff Hafley at Boston College, 22 of 26, right? No sort of overwhelming success. 4 years. Best record came in his 4th and final season, going 7-6 and winning the Fenway Bowl. But experience in running an organization, right?
And it's Boston College. It's not at some premier program.
No. Then he takes the Packers defensive coordinator job. And, of course, Matt Nagy with the Bears, Robert Saleh with the Jets. So all the way back when the Titans fired Brian Callahan, it's a little bit full circle because one of the first questions you ask is, okay, what qualities are you looking for in the Titans' next coach? And that feels like forever ago. I mean, I think the iPhone wasn't invented when the Titans fired Brian Callahan. That feels like it was ages ago. But one of the first things we said was you got to get somebody with head coaching experience. And then you get to a point in the search where you want to cast a wide net. And a lot of times, almost most of the time, it feels like nowadays in the NFL, the best candidates out there, the ones that end up having the most success are often the ones that do not have previous head coaching experience because typically organizations don't let those guys leave. We've talked about it. Of the 14 teams in the NFL postseason, 11 of them are in their first NFL head coaching job. Some for many, many years, right? Mike Tomlin. But 11 of the 14, that job is their first head coaching opportunity that they are still in. The only retreads in the postseason, we're talking about Sean Payton, Mike Vrabel, and, the third one's escaping me. We talked about this millions of times. But that is a common thread here between the 3 coaches. And now Sean McDermott is a wrinkle on top of it. And the FNMA chat is saying Adam Schefter has stated that Sean McDermott says he still wants to coach. I have not seen that from Schefter, but we'll continue to get as many updates as we can on what's been a crazy news day in the NFL. 615-737-1045. Troy in Lebanon is up next. Hey, Troy.
What's going on, Lucas?
What's up, man?
So my question is, Mike McCarthy took out to lunch by us, and he had his interview, and then all of a sudden he kind of disappears, and he's not in the finalist. Do you have any insight on kind of what happened and what went down with Mike McCarthy?
Thanks for the call, Troy. Yeah, we're getting tweets about that, too, on what in the world happened with Mike McCarthy. I don't know just how much of a candidate, seriously, Mike McCarthy ever was here. Obviously, he worked with Chad Brinker in Green Bay for some time. Adam Schefter 30 minutes ago tweeted that Mike McCarthy has met twice in recent days for the Titans job. One time, apparently in late December in Green Bay, which we did not know about. And then again, Friday and Saturday, he was here. He was meeting with the Titans. He was in Nashville. And then we fast forward to today, and before the McDermott news breaks, we see Robert Saleh, Matt Nagy, Jeff Hafley seem to be the finalists. So I think only Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker and company right now can answer that question of why Mike McCarthy wouldn't be a fit here. On whichever side deemed that to be the case, I don't know. I will say Mike McCarthy immediately is being brought up for the Pittsburgh job. Yesterday, Schefter stated that the Steelers are expected to talk to him. Mike McCarthy is somebody that would make sense for the Buffalo job. And that's one of the first names that popped into my head, right? In terms of dropping into an organization that kind of already has everything put into place, right? The quarterback is there, the general manager is there, the leadership, and they're just looking for the coach to take them over the hump. That is the mold of the job McCarthy has taken. That was the case in Dallas. Jerry Jones hired Mike McCarthy to win a Super Bowl with the pieces they already had in place. Obviously, in Green Bay, one of the more stable organizations in the history of the league, McCarthy took that job with an older Brett Favre and a younger Aaron Rodgers and then had years of success in that situation. What Mike McCarthy's never had to do is step into a head coaching role that is more of a blank canvas, per se, with a young, unproven quarterback, which, again, he did with Aaron Rodgers, but there's a passing of the torch there, right? It's the Packers. There's a tradition of success there. There's a standard. for Mike McCarthy to kind of step immediately into, whereas the head coach of the Titans is going to be able to sort of mold this thing. So I don't know exactly if something happened there, what in particular the Titans did not like about McCarthy. I'm surprised that his name has not been more at the top of the list when it comes to who we're talking about as the most attractive candidates in this cycle.
What I'm interested to see with him now is, Mike McCarthy would want that Steelers job. He's from Pittsburgh. He loves the area. He would want that job. However, would the Steelers want him? Because they're a franchise who's only had 3 head coaches, and that's why a guy like Chris Shula has been tied to them a lot lately, being so young, being promising. History would tell you they would lean that direction, but they could lean McCarthy as well. Who knows? If McCarthy doesn't end up in Pittsburgh, if I'm him, honestly, I'd go to Buffalo. Like, I hate to say it, I would love him here as a Titans fan, but, I mean, you go to a team, you have the chance to go to a team with an MVP quarterback that can be in the playoffs next year. Like, it's not like there's a ton of questions about the Bills necessarily. I mean, most people would expect them to be a playoff team next year. Like, that's a great situation to go into.
615-737-1045. I'm seeing consternation here from Titans fans, right? I don't think Titans fans are receiving the McDermott news well. You see Sean McDermott fired and Matt Nagy and Robert Saleh as finalists. One of the primary concerns that you see is Matt Nagy is a buddy hire for Mike Bergonzi if that happens. I'm going to tell you why I don't think you should be terribly concerned about that element of it specifically coming up next. So 10 total jobs that have opened at one point or another in this cycle. 2 have been filled. 8 still remain. I mean, so much has happened over the weekend, right? We have the divisional round of the playoffs, the Titans narrowing down their search. The Bills have fired head coach Sean McDermott, if you're just joining us. After 9 years, welcome back. Lucas Panzica with you. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Buck is skipping down to Miami for the national championship game. Robert is down for the count with food poisoning today. We'll get to all of that later. 615-737-1045 is how you join us. We haven't even mentioned that the Falcons made their hire. Kevin Stefanski is the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Of the 10 open jobs, 7 in the AFC, 3 in the NFC. The 2 that have been filled are in the NFC. Harbaugh to the New York Giants, Kevin Stefanski to the Atlanta Falcons. The only NFC job still open would be the Arizona Cardinals, who I got to say, Ross, I feel bad for the Cardinals.
Nobody's talking about that job.
I do not envy Monty Austin for it here. Like, it's unattractive enough. The Kyler Murray situation kind of hangs over it. There's some fun talent in Arizona. Marvin Harrison Jr. has not had the running start to his career that everybody expected.
Buda Baker.
Walter Nolan, fun, young defensive player on the interior, but nobody's talking about that job. And then you look around at the NFC West. 2 out of the 4 teams in the division are playing each other for the NFC Championship game this weekend. The other one just got bounced in the divisional round in the 49ers. So most brutal division in the NFL this year, and the Cardinals are just kind of sitting there, looking for their best candidate. So do not envy Arizona. But every single AFC job, Tennessee, Baltimore, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Miami, Vegas, and now Buffalo, still open. And the question here is, how much does Sean McDermott's firing impact, if at all, the Titans coaching search, which appears to be closing in on Matt Nagy, Robert Saleh, and Jeff Hafley? So we did this a little bit on Friday, this exercise of pointing out flaws of guys that have had head coaching opportunities in the past, the things that they're going to have to correct at their next stop. And we've talked about this a lot with both Robert Saleh and Matt Nagy. What went wrong at each of their first stops, respectively? When it comes to Matt Nagy, you start hot with Mitch Trubisky as your quarterback and Vic Fangio as your defensive coordinator, and then things fall off. Fangio leaves. The defense takes a big drop-off. Offense starts to get stagnant, give up play-calling duties, take it back, give it up again. Mitch Trubisky turns into what we know him to be as a backup quarterback in the NFL. The Bears draft Justin Fields.
Still made the playoffs in the COVID year, by the way.
Made the playoffs in what was a really bad division.
Bad division, yeah. Outside the Packers.
Right. But snuck in and lost to the Saints in the wild card round in the COVID year. And we've seen from reporting by Dan Pompei at The Athletic that if Matt Nagy gets another opportunity to be a head coach, he will not call plays on offense. And I think that gets received 2 different ways, right? There's some people that assign Kansas City's downturn offensively with the return of Matt Nagy as Andy Reid's offensive coordinator. There's other people that, if Matt Nagy is the head coach, want to see him call plays. I don't mind the CEO approach if Matt Nagy is the head coach here. And I get that the immediate consternation from Titans fans, if Nagy were to be hired, is the idea that it was probably always him all along, right? His relationship with Borgonzi, we know that they go back, they work together in Kansas City. Nagy helped Borgonzi during his interview process to get the GM job in Tennessee. But put yourself in the shoes of Mike Borgonzi, right? And as widespread as this coaching search has been, the idea of Mike Borgonzi just making a buddy hire because he knows the guy, to me, is slightly overblown here. And we see this all the time with head coaches that bring in guys they've worked with as assistants. Like Brian Callahan bringing Nick Holtz as his offensive coordinator is a buddy hire to the max, all the way back to high school.
But there's no fallout because of that. There could be this way around.
Nick Holtz isn't getting Brian Callahan fired, right? Brian Callahan is getting Brian Callahan fired, and that's what happened. Brian Callahan's the play caller. He brought Nick Holtz in a supporting role who he knows he can communicate with. Obviously, did not set up the Titans for success. But in this situation, Mike Borgonzi understands that his tenure as the GM of the Titans very much is aligned with what the next head coach of the Titans does. So logically, it's hard for me to sit here if the Titans do hire Matt Nagy and say, oh, Mike Borgonzi did the cop-out thing and just fell back on the guy that he knows. There's too much here. The stakes are too high for Mike Borgonzi and the Titans to go about this coaching search in that way. So that, to me, is not much of a concern. It doesn't mean you have to love Matt Nagy as a candidate. But don't hate Matt Nagy as a candidate just because you think Mike Borgonzi wants to help his buddy out. Like, that's not how people are operating when they're making decisions that directly impact their livelihood or their current situation, which is absolutely the case here with Mike Borgonzi and Matt Nagy. And then there's Robert Saleh with the New York Jets, who took over in New York in a situation where Zach Wilson was kind of the guy, right? He's the high draft pick who they're hoping can lead the franchise forward. And the thing about Robert Saleh in New York is that his defenses never dropped off until they fired him 5 games into the 2024 season. It doesn't work with Zach Wilson. They swing for Aaron Rodgers. He goes down 4 plays into the season. They got to ride with Zach Wilson the whole way, go 7-10. Robert Saleh as a candidate truly fascinates me, not just because of the things that let him down in New York, Ross, feel more tangible to me, feel a little more out of his control to me than some of the things that let down Matt Nagy in Chicago. Now, on the Nagy side, the Fangio exit after year 1, Vic Fangio, is a huge part, a huge factor in why Matt Nagy's tenure in Chicago tailed the way that it did. But if you read that Dan Pompei article, there are all sorts of things that Matt Nagy did in Chicago that he would do differently the second time around. And I'm sure that's the case with Robert Saleh, but there's more there that I feel like I can point to with Saleh's tenure in the Jets and say, well, he was at arguably the most toxic organization in the NFL in the 21st century, or in, whatever time span you want to assign it to. He had a situation where he was handed Zach Wilson, here's your quarterback, and then Aaron Rodgers, who tears his Achilles and has to go back to Zach Wilson, had to keep a team together during that season, which he did in that 7-10 year where Rodgers was out with the Achilles. And things kind of piled up from there. But it was hard for me to say Robert Saleh just lost control of the situation with the New York Jets, that was of Robert Saleh's doing, the downfall of his tenure with the New York Jets. That's hard for me to do. I feel like you could say Matt Nagy had more to do with the things that went wrong in Chicago than Robert Saleh did with the things that went wrong with the Jets, which isn't exactly a bold stance to take about a Jets organization that's been the most dysfunctional, arguably, in the league for decades, generations.
Well, and look how it's been since Robert Saleh's departure. I mean, it's not like it's gotten better. It's gotten worse, quite frankly. But the one thing that intrigues me about him, too, with that is that those teams, those Jets teams he had, their best players were young guys, which it's kind of like here. I mean, outside of Big Jeff, honestly, like, you think of the rookie class this year, rookie quarterback, all that. Like, the best players, the most intriguing players are young guys, like it was with the Jets when he was there. He's got that experience of a team, quite frankly, who looks to younger guys to do a lot of the work for him. And now, again, probably mess some things up. I mean, he did get fired for a reason, even if it wasn't all on him. But being able to go attack that a second time around is, that's intriguing to me because I love his demeanor. Loved him on Hard Knocks. Out of the 3 finalists, he's my favorite, unless they got McDermott in there. But, yeah, you would think he would improve the second time around.
The Cowboys and Ravens completed interviews with Robert Saleh over the course of this weekend. The Dolphins also talked to Saleh 4 days ago. And he will be in the building, meeting with the Titans today. Matt Nagy as well this morning. And then Jeff Hafley is scheduled tomorrow, but we'll see if Hafley leaves Miami, if the Dolphins don't go ahead and lock him down. And the Sean McDermott firing in Buffalo hovers over all of it. Lots of moving parts and pieces here. We've got a whole weekend of divisional games to recap. We have a national championship game to preview tonight. A lot to do, and Ben Jones will join us to do it coming up next.
No one wants to deal with a plumbing, HVAC, or electrical emergency. Most of the time, you don't know what it will cost or if it'll get fixed correctly or if someone is just trying to sell you something. That's when you call Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Their experts are going to solve your problems quickly. The price you're told is the price you'll actually pay. There's no hidden fees or surprises on your bill. Hiller has been in business for over 35 years and is family-owned and operated. Their techs are professional, experienced, and trustworthy. And when they're on their way, you'll receive a photo of the tech and a link to track them in real time. No more wasting time waiting around. 100% satisfaction guarantee of happy you'll be, or the service is free. That is the Happy Hiller promise. So visit them online and book today at happyhiller.com.
Good morning from the Circus Sports of the Main Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Ross Johnston. In major NFL news this morning, the Buffalo Bills have fired head coach Sean McDermott after a 33-30 loss in overtime in the divisional round at Denver. McDermott was in Buffalo for 9 seasons as head coach and finished with a 90-58 record while going 8-8 in the playoffs. Conference Championship Sunday is set as the Denver Broncos, who will be without quarterback Bo Nix, host Mike Vrabel and the Patriots, and the Seattle Seahawks host their NFC West rival in the Los Angeles Rams. The Titans are down to their final 3 candidates, and they are as follows. Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy, who is currently in Nashville. 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh, who interviews with the Titans later today. And Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley, who interviews in Miami today and then Tennessee tomorrow. The national championship is tonight with Indiana and Miami, squaring off in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium with kickoff set for 6:30 as Indiana is 8.5-point favorites in the matchup. For all your foundation repair, waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news and watch on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Great relief, someone that can actually talk about these things in a smart way. Ben Jones is in studio with us as we continue on. Sean McDermott has been fired in Buffalo. Conference championships are set in the NFL. We've got a national championship happening tonight, and the Titans are, it seems like, finalizing their search for a head coach, and we get to do this without Buck on this Monday. What's up, Ben?
Man, it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
I hope you're on South Beach having fun, but happy to be here with you.
He'll be in the building tonight at Hard Rock Stadium. He finagled his way in. Dawn Davenport did too, I saw. She and Travis got some tickets, which is good for actual Indiana fan. Travis Harder to be in the building.
It's a shame they're letting Rising in the building, but it's whatever.
Yeah. So he's got to be the worst kind of football fan to sit next to during a game.
Absolutely. That's the last person I'm sitting. He's over there probably eating, drinking, just not even watching the game.
I've been to games with Buck that he's not working. And it is like sitting next to someone that's never been to a football game before. I mean, it's insane. Like from the things that he's yelling to, it's like somebody learned football the day before and just got a free ticket and just showed up for the spectacle. So that's basically what he's doing in Miami.
He's there for the party.
How surprised were you to see Sean McDermott out in Buffalo?
Yeah, he's not, it's the same thing as Harbaugh. They've done nothing but win. At that point, it's either they know their window's closing, something had to be going on. They fired some coordinators over the past couple of years, and they just can't get the magical formula to win. If it's owner with him, GM with him, it's something not clashing, and they know their window with Josh Allen is getting smaller and smaller, and they either want a new OC and he's not willing to go away from Joe Brady, or is Joe Brady the next guy? Like, something's going on there. Either the owner wanted a different OC, but he's loyal to Joe Brady. That's where it usually comes into effect, and why a guy's fired that went to the playoffs. Same thing kind of happened here in Tennessee when Malarkey, he wanted Trubisky, they didn't. So that's what happens.
It's just so hard for me, Ben, to think back to that game and even watching it back this morning with the 6 turnovers, 5 of them by your quarterback, some of the controversial officiating at the end of the game, and to walk away thinking that, you know, the biggest reason you're not in the AFC Championship is your head coach. It's just a hard thing. It's the nature of the business, I get. And look, he would have been in year 10 if he had stayed on in 2026. And only one coach in NFL history has been at one place for 7 years, has made a Super Bowl after 7 or more years of not making a Super Bowl at the same place. That's John Madden. Okay. So it doesn't happen much, right? Yep. McDermott would be making history if you were able to get over that hump. And maybe that was a part of it, where they just felt like it had kind of run its course. But it's the dichotomy of, for me, coaching not having a ton to do with them being bounced on Saturday and McDermott being the one on the outside looking in, when the best receiver he's throwing to, Ben, is Khalil Shakir on Saturday, and it's the general manager, Brandon Beane, that's leading the coaching search and even gets essentially a promotion in this situation.
Yeah, that's hard. No matter, it's a hard job for those coaches. They're only able to coach the guys they have. They've had some really talented rosters in the past. You're looking at their roster now, they're getting a little older on defense, getting their skill positions. You have Cook, you have Shakir, you have a tight end. Other than that, you need 2 more receivers. You're kind of beat up on defense. Your edges are getting older. I feel like you go in and try every year. Oh, I'm going to get Von Miller. I'm going to go get Bosa. I'm going to go get the next big piece, and they keep missing over there on that side. But you're looking at it, they're getting a new stadium, and they're like, all right, we're starting over. We're getting something clean, fresh. We want something new in Buffalo. So it's they're a billionaire for a reason, and they get to choose what they want to do. They want to kind of revamp it and start new when you start in a new stadium.
How must Josh Allen be feeling this morning? And we saw how emotional he was after the game, talked about feeling like he let his team down, and then your head coach gets fired after the fact. Like, what must the emotions be like on a day like that?
He's the reason they're there. Like, he put that if you don't have him, they're not even in the playoffs. They're probably below a 500 team. He carried them. Like, yes, Cook had some games, but how many games did he put them on the back? Like, he's running QB sneaks from ever. He's taking 1,000,000 shots. So you can't blame him. Like, you put him in that situation where he has to be Superman. Yes, you're going to get turnovers from that away. He's going to take a chance because he has to, because these receivers are getting locked down because they can't get over. He's having to force everything. He's trying to make every play on the run. He's doing everything. So, yes, he's going to feel bad because he wants to win. He's a great team player. That's why that job is desirable, because you have one of the top quarterbacks in the league. And they're like, yes, him and Lamar, top 2 jobs, and their coaches are gone.
This game was insane. I mean, you think about the sequence of events in this game. To think about where we are now on this Monday morning, where Sean McDermott is out after 9 years as the head coach of the Bills, and suddenly you've got a ready-made contender right there with the head coaching opening. Not something that happens often in general, and you've got Buffalo and Baltimore sitting there looking for their next head coach. But on Saturday, Ben, from 10-10 right before half to the turnover that leads to a Broncos lead at halftime, fast forward to Josh Allen getting the ball, seconds on the clock, needing a field goal to force overtime. He gets it. And then one of the craziest overtime periods had to be in NFL history, right? I mean, there's missed throws, the interception. Brandon Cooks has it wrestled away from him by Jaquan McMillan, excuse me. Where are you on that play that kind of took over the entire conversation until today when McDermott's fired and we're all back to talking about coaching searches?
Yeah, he's got to complete the catch. It was, when you slow it down, it looks more like a catch when they like break it down slow but live action, you see how he catches it, transitions straight to him. He's got to complete the catch, and when you're hitting the ground, you have to end up with the ball. Like the whole Devontae Adams, he has it, his knee goes down, he's still standing up, and then they rip it out. So the catch is complete when that happens. When the ground causes it, you got to come up with it. So when you're looking at it, it's definitely an interception. It just sucks because they were about to kick a game-winning field goal right there and win it.
So, okay, so we're on the same page. It's an interception.
Interception all
yeah,
day.
No doubt. I mean, the thing that, for me, if you don't control the ball, like in that situation, if Brandon Cooks has the ball, goes down, and if it spills out at the end, it's an incompletion, right?
Right. That's how you know it's a fumble.
Right.
Because if the ground causes it and you don't complete the catch, it's an incomplete. So if the other guy ends up with it, it's a fumble.
It's an interception.
Interception,
exactly.
Fumble, yeah.
So the Broncos move on. The 1 seed in the AFC, they will host New England in the AFC Championship game. And as everybody is kind of just reeling from what we just watched in one of the best games of the year in the NFL, Sean Payton steps up to the podium after his initial post-game press conference. He returns to the podium and has this to say to Denver media.
I love you guys so much, I wanted to come back. Not good news. On the second to last play in overtime, Bo fractured a bone in his right ankle. He's scheduled to have surgery Tuesday of this week, which will put him out for the rest of the season. Steady's ready to go. And it was the second to last play before he threw the pass to Mims. Birmingham is where he'll have the surgery with Dr. Waltrip, and I don't really think there's any other questions. You know, in other words, this is what it is, and we felt like it'd be best to just tell everyone now.
So that kind of, I think, floored everybody, Ben, because there was no indication at any point that Bo was down or even limping. Mm-hmm. You dealt with just about every injury in the book that you could have possibly dealt with. Like, did you see the play where it happened? How surprised were you to see that Bo would be done for the playoffs?
Yeah, when they said that, I was like, oh, this is not real. Then they show him like his face on the sideline. You see him kind of trying to do his ankle and like something was wrong. But I know why he went ahead and said it. He don't want any distractions this week. He wants everything to be focused on winning, and that's Sean Payton for you. He believes in his next guy. He thinks Stidham's is going to go out there and get him a win. Like, he has all the faith in the world in him. Talking to other guys around the league, that's how Payton is. And he wouldn't be on that roster as their backup quarterback if he can't go out there and compete and win for him.
So now Jarrett Stidham steps in, and the Broncos will host the Patriots for a shot at the Super Bowl. Like, I think about the situation Denver's in, and I get reminded of 10 years ago when Peyton Manning and that Broncos defense just kind of grinded their way to a championship, and Peyton is just so far from the peak of his powers. And it kind of feels like it has to be a repeat of that, right? If they're going to beat Vrabel and the Pats, that Broncos, Nick Bonito is going to have to be Von Miller here.
Yep.
And they're going to have to find a way to elevate Jarrett Stidham and find a way to win at home.
100%. They're going to have a game plan that goes in. They're going to try to take care of the ball. They're going to try to get after Drake May and get some sacks like they did yesterday against him and let your defense win the game. You got a home field advantage. You're going to go out there, and the Patriots are sitting there like, hey, how much are they actually going to do? So they're like, how do we scheme this? Or do we show everything? Or are they going to get vanilla? And we're not going to have time to get home on all these blitzes. So do we just play man? So it puts a little pressure on the coordinators there at the Patriots trying to figure out what is actually – because they haven't seen tape on him. They probably got more tape on him from running scout team at the Patriots than he has in actual game footage.
Good point. He was a New England Patriot for a hot minute there. Yeah, so just a crazy turn of events on Saturday, all leading to McDermott fired today. And then meanwhile, Sunday afternoon – New England just takes advantage. C.J. Stroud has 4 interceptions. Patriots win 28-16. In that kind of weather, I mean, how much do you think Mike Vrabel and his team relished that opportunity when the snow starts to drive and you're at home hosting a Houston team that's never won a divisional game in their franchise history?
Yeah, they knew what they had to do to win. They couldn't sit back there and drop back a million times. They tried it early. Will Anderson's an absolute stud on the edge. They got the fumbles back. That was a big break for them because they were sitting there fumbling 3 times and didn't recover it, and they recovered 2 of them. So, yes, when it started pouring snow and you have the lead, you're like, this is exactly what they want. They're going to run it, take some little easy dump down, and let C.J. Stroud lose it for them.
This is kind of the Ben Jones Bowl, right? Your former coach going up against one of your former teams that you played for in Houston. How mystifying is it, the C.J. Stroud experience at this point, year 3, and Troy Aikman talked about it a little bit on the broadcast, that you just haven't seen that development, that progress, and it's got to be addressed. Like, how strange is it to you that we're sitting here 2 years after he had this incredible rookie season, and we're talking about, you know, kind of this step back that he's taken in his career that's led directly to playoff exits?
Yeah, he was fantastic his rookie year. You're sitting looking at it like, hey, Carolina made the wrong pick. They traded all this and got Bryce Young. He had a terrible year. Like, they could have sat there at 2 or 3, wherever they were, and got C.J. Stroud. What were they thinking? Now you're looking back like, hey, Bryce Young might be all right. He might have been the right choice. But how many coordinators is this for him? What is the right fit? Yes, you got to give him a little credit. Like, Nico's not there. Tank Dell's not there. Joe Mixon, your best 3 players on offense are not playing this year for you. So, yes, you're limited on some of your options, but you got to make better decisions. Like, you are trusted in that whole organization. If one person, you got to sit there and say, hey, I'm not going to lose it, but I have to do enough to win. Like, your defense is that good. That window's going to shrink. In a couple years, one more year, you got to decide, is CJ the guy? Do I pay him? Because you know you're going to pay Will Anderson. Like, he is the guy. So they got 1 year to figure out if CJ's really the guy, and it puts a lot of pressure on that organization.
Yeah, and that's the thing, that Texans defense felt like did everything in its power
so good
to set up C.J. Stroud in plus territory. He forced 2 fumbles, pick off Drake May once, and Texans just don't have enough on offense. And the immediate question there is, what happens offensively at the coordinator spot? Do you let go of Nick Caley? I mean, who kind of gets the blame here? Who's going to be the scapegoat for the lack of development on the side of C.J. Stroud? And will he end up having a 3rd offensive coordinator in 3 years?
I think you got to stick with him. Just kind of give him another year to develop off season so they get some used to working together. Like if you go that, then you're going to have to pay him after that year. So you at least can say like, hey, he's got 2 years with him. They know how to work together. If he's the guy, we're going to stick with this guy. If not, we got to get him out of here. So you can't just keep changing guys on him. He's young. Y'all got to both see it through the same set of eyes. Why I'm throwing at this guy. These are my hots. These are my check downs. You got to have them a whole offseason so they don't have to do the whole learning each other. What do I like? They kind of should know that now and get better from it.
Meanwhile, AFC Championship is set. Patriots, Broncos, you could probably speak to this. What deal did Mike Vrabel make here with the football gods to have everything falling, and they take advantage of it to their credit? Not a lot of teams take advantage when the chips all fall. Josh Allen had no Lamar, no Mahomes, no Burrow. He was unable to take advantage. But for the path to be laid like this and the last place schedule gets him into the postseason, and you find your way now playing Jarrett Stidham for a shot at the Super Bowl. Like, what did Mike Vrabel do after he was let go by the Titans? What deal did he cut with the football gods to get this situation?
By the way, now technically the longest tenured AFC East coach, Mike Vrabel.
Crazy.
Which is wild.
Yeah, you can see he was looking for the right job. He wanted a quarterback because if you don't have a quarterback in this league, you're not going to be there for long. Like that's what everybody is searching for. Like, hey, I'm going to wait and get that head coaching job there. If you don't have him, who can I get to bring him? And you can only be a defensive coach and that for so long. You got to have, like you're looking at it, you got to have a QB. And he was like, I believe in Drake May. He's a young guy. I want to go all in and be that guy in that thing because he had options last year, but he chose Drake May, and it is showing. Like he is playing lights out. And you know the media is sitting there like, man, we could have our top 2 MVP candidates playing in the Super Bowl, Drake May and Matthew Stafford. That's what they want.
Jarrett Stidham stands in their way. And a pretty good Broncos defense that we don't need to overlook. Who Drake May will actually be facing in the AFC Championship game.
No doubt.
Instead of Jarrett Stidham. 615-737-1045 if you want to chime in, if you have a question for Ben Jones, whose thoughts we will get on the Titans coaching search. What do we not think about in these processes when teams narrow down to those final names? We'll do that with Ben Jones in studio next. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Getting a few folks over. Maybe you're going to somebody's house, watch the national championship game tonight. Why don't you swing by one of the 7 Middle Tennessee locations? Pick yourself up a bucket of Hattie B's Hot Chicken, hot or not, whatever works for you, grilled or fried, maybe a quart or two of their incredible sides. If you prioritize sides like me, and like I know Ben Jones does, Hattie B's, they do them right. The pimento mac and cheese, southern greens, you can't go wrong. Okay, so we have not talked at all, really, about the NFC side of things over the weekend. It's been a crazy day, Ben. Crazy coaching carousel in the NFL. Sean McDermott is out in Buffalo. Titans are narrowing down their search. We will get your thoughts on all of those moving parts. But I do want to ask you, when it comes to this NFC championship that's set up between Rams and Seahawks, an NFC West battle for a trip to the Super Bowl, your boy Matt Stafford
Playing.
just surviving at Soldier Field yesterday. What a game. Was that the best game of the weekend? What was the better game? Was it Rams-Bears, or did Bills-Broncos just have more like what just happened moments?
Yeah, I really liked watching the Bills game. It came down to some big plays. The Rams game kind of stalled out in the middle. A lot of punts, a lot of turnover on downs. It was action at the beginning and action at the end. But that Bears ending, oh my goodness. Like, you keep saying, like, there's no way he's going to do this again. Like, wild card round, he makes a throw that nobody can make on 4th down. Then he runs around 30 yards back, throws it off his back foot, a seed all the way to the back of the end zone. I was like, oh, he's throwing it out of bounds. He's just throwing a prayer, and it hits him right in the chest. You're like, this is not happening again. Like, then they go out and make them punt. Like, this game's over. Chicago's fans are rocking it there. And they go down and throw that pick, and you're just like, what happened? It was miscommunication. You can see he thought DJ Moore was breaking out. DJ Moore kind of looked like, hey, I didn't want to run my guy into another guy's territory. Something went on in the scramble rules there, and it was just one of those plays you're like, man, I wish I could have that back.
Yeah, the DJ Moore thing, I'm having a hard time, Ben, because even if he doesn't think that the ball is coming to him on that route, what we've seen from Caleb Williams in his career all season and this entire game, the scrambling ability, the Houdini act, it just kind of baffles me in overtime, where if you're in field goal range, you probably win the game. To loaf on her. And it's hard for me, like, to sit here in my hoodie in this studio and say DJ Moore was loafing on that route. But is that what you saw there on that interception by Curl?
Yeah, you have your scramble rules. Like, hey, he rolls to you. If you're on the sideline, you take off. If you're already ran a go, you come back. You have your kind of your rules and stuff. But with Caleb, he can throw it anywhere. So as a receiver, you see him through the year, you're thinking, I should be alive at all times, because you never know. He could throw it all the way across the field. So something just was off. Like, he might have not seen the ball come out. He looked like he had no idea the ball was thrown, which is weird, because DJ Moore is an absolute stud, and you just hate to see him go out like that, because their year, it was just play after play. And at that point, yes, I wanted Stafford to win because he's my boy, but the Bears would have been nuts if they'd have done it again.
I mean, the Cole Kmet touchdown.
Well, once that happened, you felt like they were going to win because they've been doing it all year.
I said, exactly. This team of destiny thing they've had going on. When that play happened, Ben, I audibly, it was by myself and just in the living room, started screaming at the TV. I couldn't even believe what I had just seen. That thing traveled 60 yards in the air, and the way it's layered in over the defender, it's Kmet's first target of the game. I mean, everything that you could possibly want in a moment like that, and for them to lose, just gut-wrenching.
Yeah, that's the one that's going to sting all offseason for them. They're going to talk about that play. Everybody's like, man, we had it. What went wrong? If it's going to be from Ben Johnson to Caleb to DJ, they're going to have to answer a lot of questions about it. But you got to give them the hats off. They turned that around. They gave their chance. They were one play away from being in the NFC Championship, and that's what you want. That's what we're trying to find here in Tennessee. Like, what coach gives us the chance to make our young quarterback make that first to second year jump, and who is that going to be?
Yeah, Caleb Williams, despite the season's end, to your point, has kind of this sort of perfect example of what that year 2 leap could look like, and put in a great position with his head coach, right? Ben Johnson's the most attractive candidate on the cycle for 2 straight years. Yep. He waited, picked the right spot, picked who he thought was the right quarterback, and it panned out. And they're a couple plays away from being in the NFC Championship. Instead, it's Rams versus Seahawks for a spot in the Super Bowl, as Seattle dismantled San Francisco at home in that game. It does free up Robert Saleh to start traveling around and talking in person to teams, including the Titans. He's going to be in the building today. So we know that the Matt Nagy interview is this morning. I'm assuming it's already happened if it's not currently in progress.
Yep.
And Robert Saleh is this afternoon. The Titans do plan to meet with Jeff Hafley, the Packers defensive coordinator, tomorrow. He is in Miami today. And, of course, the Sean McDermott firing hovers above all of this. I guess the question here, Ben, is how do the Titans kind of react based on Sean McDermott suddenly hitting the market?
Yep.
Because Mike Borgonzi has said at every turn, casting as wide a net as possible. And to their credit, they did everything in their power to be in position to have a conversation with John Harbaugh, who was the best candidate on the market. He ends up going to New York. That's done and dusted. But now things have evolved a little bit in an unexpected way. If you're the Titans, what's the best way to react here when it's in a much more awkward position than it was when you were pursuing Harbaugh a week ago?
Yeah, this makes it very difficult for them because they're sitting there today. After having all those phone calls, they kind of narrowed it down to their top 3 guys. Like, these are the 3 guys that we want to – if you're bringing around for your second interview, they want them. Like, they've passed the test of them. Now this interview today is, who is your OC? Who is your DC? How are you running this? Who's the guy upstairs making you the in-game decisions? They're finding out all the details today. Who's the staff going to be? Because that matters. Because you can't just hire a head coach and you have no idea who their OC, who's dealing with your quarterback every day, your QB coach. Is who is in that staff that makes all the difference. Like, yes, Vrabel went to New England. He knew, hey, I'm going to have my footprint on the defense. I'm going to hire Josh McDaniels to develop a quarterback who's done it week in and week out. And you know, if you're hiring McDaniels, he's not getting a head coaching job. So you kind of have some stability there. So that's what he sold him. If it's Nagy, if you're calling plays, great. If it's your OC, who is it? Who's your O-line coach? Who's your DC that you're bringing from there? Because it's not like a fired staff from the Chiefs. Saleh, if it's you, are you bringing McDaniels? Who is your boy to be your OC? We know you're going to be the stamp on defense. We know you're going to come out and you're going to run a 4 down front. You're going to have Jeff Simmons lined up in a wide 3 getting after people. You can see that if you bring Saleh in, but you got to know who his OC is. And I'm intrigued by it because I think he could be a fit. I like him as a person. When I was going through the whole, am I going to play my last year? He was a guy I wanted to play for, honestly. I have his phone number in my phone. I've talked to him on the phone. He told me how they ran their program. I really liked him, but it came down to some injuries. I wasn't ready and some family stuff going on. But I actually liked the guy a lot.
So he was with the Jets at the time. What did that look like? Robert Saleh's pitch to you, this is what we do. This is how we want to do things in New York, which I imagine will have evolved a little bit as he gets his second opportunity. But at that point in your career, when you were considering coming back, what did that pitch sound like from Saleh? What was he trying to, put into your mind as far as just, here's what this program is. This is what I'm doing in New York, and I want you to be a part of it.
Yeah, he was telling me, like, hey, we're going to go out here and we're going to get Aaron Rodgers. We want a veteran center with him. We're going to draft a guy. And we want you to develop him. If it's 1 year, 2 years, we want you to be that guy. We want you to be the voice in the room. And Keith Carter was there as the O-line coach, so he was putting there on there. He was like, hey, Ben can change this culture for us. We're trying to get back. We're trying to do it a certain way. So he was, and I was just being up in front of him. I'm like, hey, I had shoulder surgery. I had elbow surgery. Like, I can't come up there. It doesn't make sense to me to sign right here in March if I don't know if my shoulder and elbow is going to bounce back. Completely good with it. He was like, keep me updated on this process. We will talk to you, hey, at the end of OTAs, going into camp to see how your progress is going with your shoulder and elbow. So he was awesome through that process. Even when they came down here to play the Titans, I went over there and thanked him again for the whole process through it because he was so good to me.
What do you make of the way things devolved for him in New York compared to maybe what happened against Nagy in Chicago?
Our owners are a lot different than their owner. Their owner is difficult.
Yes.
Like, I love Miss Amy. Miss Amy, she kind of knows her role. Like, she has her people that help her with the decision. She made an unreal experience for us. She gave us everything we could possibly want, from facilities to food to game day. Miss Amy is a sweetheart. Like, yes, she gets a lot of bad press because stuff happens and she makes some rash decision, but that's somebody else helping her make that decision. She's not just going out there and be like, you're fired. That's a whole group. So I like Miss Amy a lot because when you're winning, everything's running smooth. She knows when she needs to step up, when she needs to back off. Like, a lot of owners have a lot to say, play this quarterback, play this person. She kind of lets the coaches do what they're supposed to, kind of lets the GM hire who they want and do all that. So a lot of owners are not like that. Look at Jerry Jones. He does everything. He wants all the power. She's not sitting there making, you got to draft this quarterback number one. You got to play Ben at center. She's not doing that. So I like Miss Amy. So for that facts for it, she does a great job, and because it could be a lot worse owners.
It's two sides of the coin, right? Because nobody can argue that the amount of turnover the Titans have had in the last 5-6 years can help an organization, right? But to your point, when you guys were rolling and winning, that was the conversation around Amy Adams Strunk, is that she's in the background. She's kind of letting people 100%. Do their thing. So I guess that's the question here is how can the Titans just get back to a place where
get back to winning so she doesn't have to make hard decisions.
You could just get it rolling down the hill. Right. And from there, you don't have to worry about, stepping in and firing a coach earlier than you normally want to because the progress isn't happening as quickly as you would want to. And that's kind of been the case over the last 5 to 6 years. So Saleh had the Rodgers thing with the injury, had to start Zach Wilson for a whole season, just the general drama and toxicity that is the Jets organization. And then when you look at what Nagy, some of the fallout from the end of his time in Chicago, Vic Fangio leaves after year one.
Big hurt.
Obviously, defense, huge drop-off. Mitch Trubisky kind of peaks in that first year, that Coach of the Year season. The double doink ends your season in the playoffs. What do you make of Matt Nagy overall as a candidate as he goes back to Kansas City and works under Andy Reid?
Yeah, you draft a quarterback, you go 12-4, you go to the playoffs. He is trending. I'm talking about he is Ben Johnson for you. He is on the thing. But what he had a good DC. He trusted him. That's what you got to have. So that's what you want to know when Nagy comes in. Who's your DC? Who's it going to be? Is it this guy? Is it this guy? Because one coach can't change an organization. He's got to have a whole staff to build. And that's what a lot of people don't know is that's what makes the most is who's coming with him. It's not just one guy. You can't just bring in McCarthy and be like, oh, he's the guy. Who's his coordinators? You got to know who that is. That makes a big decision. And it comes down to it. You got to have players too. No matter how good a coach you are, you got to have a good roster if you want to win. And look at the Bears. They went out there and got Joe Tooney. They got good tackles. They went out there and got Dahlman at center. They put together an O-lineman so they could run the ball and protect Caleb this year. They have weapons at receiver. They went out and got Luther Burd in the draft. They already had DJ Moore. They went out and got Colton Loveland. They have weapons on that offense. So it comes with both of them. You got to have talent, and you got to have good coaches that can promote and get your talent to play at a high level.
Indiana, Miami tonight. Who you got?
Ooh. I just wanted a good game. I think Indiana is overall the better team. They just don't make mistakes. And it would be more of shock to me that if Indiana going out there and not playing well, because I think they're so dialed in, than Miami going out there and doing something that nobody believes they're going to do. So I think Indiana's going to win. And they're just that good. And Cignetti's going to go to the Raiders. Just for Buck.
He's been asked about it, and he continues to say he made a decision a long time ago that he is a college football coach.
Love that about him.
And that's what he wants to be. And that is, I can respect that too, but I guess Indiana's just here, man. I guess Indiana's just going to be this. I don't know if it's going to be to this level of dominance, but it's time to rewrite everything that you think you know about the haves and the have-nots, right? It's completely evolving before our eyes.
He is really good at the portal. He's really good at developing talent. He's going out there and getting the guys he needs. This could be his niche. Hey, when Saban and Kirby were in their prime, they were able to recruit, get the best guys in. Then you had them for 3 years, 4 years. This guy's able to say, hey, I'm going to go get this piece I need, this piece, and I'm going to run a certain program. So some of those has got to change, and he's by far the best at doing what he's doing right now.
Obviously, you being a Georgia alum and Carson Beck spending as much time as he did there, generally, where do you fall on Carson Beck and just his legacy as a Georgia Bulldog, as a college football quarterback, regardless of what happens tonight? Are you rooting for Carson Beck tonight? Are you not because you didn't like the way the split happened last year? With the state of college football, and it being so rare to see a Ty Simpson spend his whole career in one place and actually build a legacy in one place. Where do you fall on Carson Beck and what you hope to see out of him tonight?
I have never really talked to Carson besides just, hey, passing some meetings when I'm there. So I can't go out there and judge him as a person. From what I've heard from other players and coaches, I love Gunnar Stockton. Like, no, he doesn't have the talent as Carson Beck's arm strength, size, but as a true competitor, as an O-lineman, Gunnar is my guy. Like, that's who I'd want to block for it, but he has a ceiling too. Like, Gunnar can only win you certain kind of games. Hey, he's not the guy who's going to sit back there and pick a team apart. He needs to be able to have a run game. He needs to have weapons. So you got to build the roster a certain way around him. Carson was your guy that you could throw it and make other guys better. So it's two different kind of quarterbacks. If I'm out there blocking, I want Gunnar because just who he is. If you're looking at an organization, Carson's going to have a better NFL career than Gunnar.
But let's say 10 years from now, we're talking about Gunnar Stockton. Is that a guy that you look at and say, oh, yeah, hell yeah, Georgia Bulldog, right?
Absolutely.
As a guy who won a SEC championship, but then goes off to Miami and didn't feel necessarily wanted at Georgia, right? It kind of felt like a mutual deal.
Yeah.
But there just seemed to be this sort of friction there between he and Georgia fans. Is that something you think fades as time goes, and in 10 years you just remember Carson Beck as a quarterback that, won an SEC championship at Georgia?
Yeah, I think you ask 10 years from now, Gunnar's going to be the guy who everybody loves. He's going to be at events. He's a guy that you're going to want to talk about. He's your Stetson. He's a better – like Stetson won national championships with a really talented team around him. And that's what you got to do at Georgia. You got to make a talented team so Gunnar elevates them. So give me Stetson every day of the week.
Ben Jones in studio with us. Thanks, man. Appreciate
Absolutely. Good seeing y'all.
Enjoy the game tonight.
What time? 6:30, 7:30?
6:30 kick.
Let's go.
Hard Rock Stadium.
I'm over under how many tweets we're going to get from Buck about wherever he's sitting, the experience.
Hope Verizon goes out and he can't text anybody or use his phone. He's just lost on South Beach. Don't even use his tickets.
Let's talk about it next. So is the prevailing thought that Indiana's just going to keep doing what they've been doing and roll tonight? Is everybody operating under that assumption? Because that seems to be the opinion of anybody we've talked to in this situation. Let us know, 615-737-1045. I believe the line is down to 7.5. Indiana favored by 7.5 at Hard Rock Stadium. There's going to be more Indiana fans there than Miami fans, despite it being literally in Miami's home stadium. I am seeing 8.5. So maybe some sports books it is down to 7.5. Welcome back to the show. Lucas Panzica with you until 1 o'clock. Ross Johnston making it happen. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Brett Kern joins us in studio coming up at 12 o'clock. You know, with all of the wacky stories we see, I mean, it's a crazy day in the NFL. Sean McDermott fired. If you live under a rock or you're just joining us, Titans have reportedly narrowed down to 3 finalists in Robert Saleh, Matt Nagy, and Jeff Hafley, who they will speak to tomorrow. We'll get Brett's thoughts on that coming up. But with the transfer portal officially closing and just the general craziness that comes with that, I kind of find myself at this weird impasse with the current state of college football where on one hand, it's a mess, and we all agree, and it can't go on like this, and it's just not sustainable, and it's taking away so many of the pillars that made us fall in love with the sport, right? Players building legacies at certain places. Now they're playing for 3-4 different programs, and we all kind of look around in agreement and say, this can't go on. It's not good. It's not sustainable. But then at the same time, we all look around and we're like, this is awesome. This is so much fun. This is insane. It's so entertaining. And I struggle with it because I feel like I've been as locked in as I've ever been when it was already, there were already enough moving parts, right? College football already entertained us enough. And now there's a layer on top of it where, oh, you're taking a quarter of, you know, the most competent starting quarterbacks across the country and then just shuffling them and scattering them across new Power 4 programs. I mean, imagine if that happened in the NFL. After every season, just 8 starters. Baker, let's go grab Darnold over here and Kyler Murray, and why not? Let's throw Josh Allen in there, and they can just pick wherever they want to go next. Like, just imagine. And then the conversations that would sprout from that. Oh, and the fit here, and Buffalo's in conversations to land Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield. So it's this weird thing where we're all sitting here nodding in agreement that, no, this is terrible. We need a commissioner to come and fix this. But at the same time, we're all just mesmerized by it.
It's like you're playing a Madden franchise with your boys and they're just making crazy trades and the commissioner of the league's just cool with whatever and everybody's kind of sitting in the back like, this is wrong. We can't be doing this. But it's like, hey, it's kind of fun, though, being a part of it. Like,
and then there's programs taking advantage of it, programs that aren't able to take advantage of it, and the two that have taken advantage of their particular situation most effectively face off tonight in Indiana and Miami. And they've both done it in ways that are unique, have done it in their own ways, which I do enjoy. I like that Miami is here because Mario Cristobal got there a few years ago to his alma mater, the place where he's from, and then started to build something, started to build this long-term project that had some diversions and had some bumpy losses, games they shouldn't have lost, coaching decisions factored in. But here they come out on the other end, playing in the national championship game with the same identity that Mario Cristobal set out to implement on day one. And, yeah, they're doing it with transfers, no doubt, right? Their quarterback, the offensive player of the game from the semifinal was a quarterback transfer from Georgia. The defensive player of the game was a safety transfer from Tennessee. But they're also doing it with Francis Mauigoa, who has been there. I remember the recruiting battle for Francis Mauigoa as a 5-star tackle, and now here he is as a pillar at right tackle for the Hurricanes, and it's probably going to be the highest drafted player on that roster in this draft. And they're doing it with young players that they've brought in. And then there's Indiana, who's done it in a way that we never really thought fathomable or possible.
What, 0 5-stars, I think, on the team?
0 5 stars, but doing it in a way that has just taken every cliche. You got to get like-minded guys, right? Everybody working for the same goal. Like, just copy-paste everything Fernando Mendoza says in any given post-game interview. And you've heard different versions of that from coaches and players across the history of time in football. They've taken every cliche you hear about what it takes to build it, and we hear those things and we say, yeah, all right, great, just get the best players. And that was the case last year with Ohio State. It's like, yeah. You're all fighting for the same goal. It'd be disciplined football, like-minded guys. Just get the best players, and you're probably going to win. And then there's Indiana. That's just taking all of those cliches and just putting them into practice. And we're all like scrambling, trying to figure out what the secret sauce is or what Kurt Cignetti has done, what sort of magic formula. And we all kind of have to just accept that there's not one. He's just better at this than us.
Well, you never see coaches call their shots either like that, really. I mean, coaching, like, guys are very, tight. They don't say anything too crazy, talk about, other teams, whatever. Dude that said, hey, I win, Google me, talked about Michigan and Ohio State at a basketball game, right? And now he's backed it up. Year 2, they're in national championship.
He's backed it up. And I think everybody sitting here just assumes that Indiana's going to win this game. We put it to a poll. Who you got, Indiana or Miami? At Lucas Panzica is where you can go vote. We will update the polls at the end of the show, including asking you which current Titans head coaching finalist would excite you the most. How much does Sean McDermott factor in at this point? We skipped over the typo right at the front of the Bills statement. Did you see this?
Oh, there was a typo?
There's a typo from owner Terry Pegula. Quote, Sean has done an admirable job of leading our football team for the past 9 seasons. Can we find the typo, Ross?
Admirable instead of admiral.
That would have been the correct way to do it.
So they didn't correct their Chat GPT formulated statement?
Either that or somebody's fired. One or the other. But that was the Bills making it official that Sean McDermott is out after 9 years, 1 losing season, a record of 98-50, and he is now the white whale in this NFL coaching carousel, of which there are 8 jobs available, 7 where McDermott could feasibly end up, obviously eliminating Buffalo, as none of the AFC teams have filled out their head coaching opening. Obviously, the Giants made John Harbaugh official over the weekend, and Kevin Stefanski hired by the Atlanta Falcons over the weekend as well. So, as the Titans close in on their next head coach, does Sean McDermott and his sudden, unexpected availability play a role in Mike Borgonzi and this coaching search? There is plenty more to talk about from the divisional round action over the weekend, and Brett Kern is in studio to talk about all of it coming up next.
Good afternoon from the Circus Sports at the Mint Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Ross Johnston. In major NFL news this morning, the Buffalo Bills fired head coach Sean McDermott after losing in the divisional round to the Broncos. McDermott was in Buffalo for 9 seasons as head coach and finished with a 90-58 record while going 8-8 in the playoffs. Also, Seahawks running back Zach Charbonnet suffered a season-ending knee injury in the divisional round against San Francisco, which will require surgery. Conference Championship Sunday is set as the Broncos will host Mike Vrabel and the Patriots, and the Seahawks will host their NFC West rival in the Los Angeles Rams. The Titans are down to their final 3 head coach candidates: Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy, who is in Nashville; 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh, who interviews with the Titans later today; and Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley, who interviews in Miami today and in Tennessee tomorrow. Lastly, the national championship is tonight with Indiana and Miami squaring off in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium with kickoff set for 6:30 as Indiana is 8.5-point favorites in the matchup. For all your foundation repair, waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans of Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Much to discuss, so let's get back to it with Brett Kern in studio on this Martin Luther King Jr. Monday. Happy to have you. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Buck has gallivanted off to Miami.
Lavish vacations.
He's the sidecar on the Indiana bandwagon, I think. He's got his little helmet.
Is that the motorcycle and you got the little seat, the little tiny seat for your dog? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Buck.
He's not on the actual bandwagon. He just hoped to be in the sidecar. He's in there.
Good for him, though. I mean, I went to Toledo. Haven't been to an NCAA, tournament in basketball since like 83.
Really?
Football, we don't have a chance just because, we're a Power 1 conference, whatever we are, the MAC is. So, it's good for Buck. I'm happy for him.
So he's going to be there, and we'll see what happens. We'll preview that game a little bit later on in the show. Robert Walsh is down for the count. So before we get into the craziness of the weekend, because there's a lot to talk about here, Bryce Kern in studio as well, enjoying this Monday off. Ross Johnston is making it happen. So Robert has food poisoning.
Do we know from what?
He believes it is from a burger he ate yesterday at an establishment that will go unnamed.
We can't mention names. Okay.
But he ate a medium rare burger.
That'll do it.
And that's what he thinks did it. And I think that's on him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
I had tartare last night.
Love that.
Yeah. I mean, great. But I know that tartare is you're kind of playing with fire. But it was delicious, and here I am. So
I feel like Robert's immune system has taken a beating this year. I mean, the bronchitis at that one point, it's just been a lot.
I don't know. He hasn't smoked a cigarette in a while, so he's on a great run there. But
good for him.
To me, it's like, what are we doing? It's not a steak, man. What are we doing wanting to bite into a mushy burger? Anyway.
Also, real quick, Brett.
Yes.
The mustache.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's a good look.
I want to be like you.
It's damn good. Well, mine's a little lighter. I got kind of ginger facial hair. I usually dye it. It's not dyed right now.
It's not dyed.
I'll dye it for you tonight, bro.
Yeah, the key is I feel like I have to leave a little scruff, like a little 5 o'clock shadow to go with the mustache.
I don't have all that.
Well, Sean McDermott has a pretty good shadow going. I don't know what his situation is this week, as he's just swimming in it right now. He just got fired from the Buffalo Bills. Does he want to coach again? Adam Schefter has insinuated that he does.
Yeah.
There are multiple feasible landing spots for Sean McDermott here, but the complication, Brett Kern, is most teams are on to second-round in-person interviews.
Right.
Most teams are like the Titans, where they've narrowed it down. When we woke up today, many Titans fans woke up to the thought of, okay, the head coach of the Tennessee Titans is either going to be Robert Saleh, Matt Nagy, or maybe a rung below those two, Jeff Hafley, as the 3 finalists. And then the Bills fired Sean McDermott, and it puts everybody in scramble mode. Coaches don't typically get fired when getting their team a game away from a conference championship. So to you, what kind of wrinkle does this put into the Titans coaching search, who have themselves said they want to cast as wide a net as possible? Now here is a premium candidate.
The last person, that I believe got fired, after a divisional round was, I think, Coach Malarkey.
We were wondering that if that's happened since Malarkey.
I couldn't find it.
I don't think so, and I don't even know if it's happened a bunch prior to. So I think, as an organization, you're looking for a head coach. You might see a coach fired. Obviously the maybe after the wild card round of the first week. That might happen. But for the divisional round, obviously that's very rare. So you're pretty much locked in come this week or even last week of who your top 3 guys are going to be. Obviously you might want to wait, like Robert Saleh, right? They played Saturday night to be able to get him in person, because this second round of interviews, you're diving deep into your coaches, your coordinators. There's a lot of information that's added on top of that first round interview. So, it definitely throws kind of a huge wrench into the equation, because to me, Sean McDermott, he's a culture guy. You saw what he has done in Buffalo, turned that organization around. And so I think the fact that he's available, especially with this many coaching vacancies still open, I think he's going to be able to pick. But, I think you'd be crazy not to have him a part of the mix as a possible head coach for the Titans.
What is the potential danger in doing that, right? Like, what's the risk reward here when you consider that McDermott immediately is the best candidate available, with Harbaugh now the coach of the Giants, and potentially missing out on, if you love Robert Saleh, he's interviewed.
Which is understandable, right?
Yeah, he's interviewed at multiple places. If you love Robert Saleh, what is kind of the risk reward there of potentially missing out on both because you swung for McDermott and took a beat on Saleh, who then gets scooped up elsewhere,
right?
Versus just, like, what's the best way to walk this line, I guess, is my question.
It's got to happen pretty quick, I would think. If you could get McDermott in, today would be insane, but even tomorrow or Wednesday, I think for me with McDermott, I'd more or less want to know, like, what went wrong, like what happened. Like, I get it. You've lost to Kansas City 4 times in the playoffs. Cincinnati, obviously, this last loss to Denver. You go back to 2019, lost in the wild card to Houston. I saw a stat that there's only 4 teams that have won a playoff game in 6 straight years. 4 teams in NFL history: New England, Kansas City, the Cowboys. And with those 6 straight years of winning a playoff game, each of those 3 teams has 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Buffalo's done it. They've won a playoff game 6 straight years in a row, but they have nothing to show for it. So the question becomes, okay, Sean, what happened? Was it you didn't want to change some stuff on your staff? Was it a philosophy? Was it there could be a lot of different things. And I think for me, I would probably want to know, hey man, why don't you come in? Love to sit down with you. What went wrong? What happened? And then go from there. But Saleh, I think Saleh is a great candidate. Obviously defensively, you're going to be in a great position. But the question becomes, okay, hey, who you bringing in as your offensive coordinator, and as far as your offensive staff, who you bringing in? I'd say the same thing with Nagy. Who are you bringing on the defensive side? You saw what happened in Chicago when Fangio left. The defense dipped. So obviously, like I said, these second round meetings, you're talking about your whole staff, your whole plan. Who's going to help you throw the red flag? Time management. There's so much that goes into these interviews, and that's why, you go from 17 guys, the first round, to all of a sudden you're down to 3 because the interviews are just so much more extensive.
615-737-1045 is how you jump in. We are also on 1045 The Zone TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch with Titans legend Brett Kern in studio. Diana Rossini on Twitter, this was about half an hour ago, saying several organizations want to move quickly on Sean McDermott, but timing is the obstacle.
Yeah.
A number of key decision makers are tied up in in-person meetings with other candidates today. I can't sit here and say for sure that the Titans are one of the several organizations she is talking about, but the Titans obviously are tied up in in-person meetings with Matt Nagy and Robert Saleh today.
Yeah. That's not a surprise at all. I think if you're Sean McDermott, first of all, with Buffalo being open, congrats if you get that job, because now you have Josh Allen. You could say the same thing about Baltimore with Lamar. Pittsburgh, great organization. Obviously, a lot of history, quarterback questions. An older roster, but still a great job. So if you're Sean McDermott, where are you wanting to go?
615-737-1045. You tell us, should the Titans drop everything in this process right now to gun for Sean McDermott? The jobs open currently are Tennessee, Buffalo, where McDermott obviously has just been fired, Baltimore, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Miami, Vegas, Arizona. We were talking, I feel for Arizona, man. Like just that division.
It's a great place to live, though.
I was just there last weekend. Beautiful.
It's a great place. Beautiful city. Weather's great.
The weather?
But there's another quarterback, issue. What do you do with Kyler Murray?
Does the weather overcompensate being surrounded by Seahawks, Niners, Rams in that division?
That's tough.
Two of them still alive.
That is tough.
Playing for a spot in the Super Bowl.
You could say the same thing. Really about the Titans. I mean, you look at Houston, the defense, what they've done, Jacksonville, what they've done this year. Obviously, Indianapolis, the hot start that they were off to. Indiana Jones getting injured. What would that have looked like with a fully healthy season for him? Another difficult division.
How are your Buffalo folks doing, by the way? Buffalo native Brett.
I think there's probably a lot of people that are probably happy. I think you get. I think there's a lot of people hearing stuff in Pittsburgh that a lot of people want a Tomlin gone. Locally, it's probably a different view than people here in Nashville are probably like, wait a second, you just fired your head coach? Like you guys have been, what we would give to be divisional round, AFC Championship, divisional, AFC Championship, wild card going back to 2019. There's a lot of people around here that would take that in a heartbeat, and you're just getting rid of that coach. So, like I said, there's obviously something that went on. There's something that's going on in the organization. I don't know if it's philosophy, wanted some coaches fired, changed, all that kind of stuff. But obviously, it was enough for them to get rid of him. The question is, who do you bring in? Sean, like I said, Sean's a great guy, cultural guy, a leader of men. I know there's a lot of guys that like him. I've had a personal phone call conversation with him after I got released and Buffalo called. Great guy. It's obviously you see Pittsburgh's done it. Baltimore's done it. Buffalo has now done it. And I don't know. I'm really curious to see where they go.
To your point, McDermott, since taking over in Buffalo in 2017, 9-7, 6-10, Allen's rookie year, only losing season under Sean McDermott. And then from 2019 and on, 10-6 wild card loss, 13-3 AFC Championship loss to the Chiefs, 11-6 divisional game loss to the Chiefs, 13-3 divisional game loss to Cincinnati, 11-6 divisional loss to Kansas City, 13-4 AFC Championship loss to Kansas City, 12-5, and of course the loss to Denver in the divisional round on Saturday. The thing that I struggle with, Brett, because I think you're probably right, and you would know obviously better than we would what the general rhetoric has been around Sean McDermott in Buffalo. But when I look at Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh, I kind of look at a coach that, is a legend in his own right, but has probably run its course at that particular organization. And you can see it in the results. That ceiling has kind of been there, right, in Pittsburgh. Yeah. Whereas, sure, the Bills haven't gotten over that hump, but at no point during this run have we been able to say, like, yeah, this doesn't look like a team that can compete for a Super Bowl. And it's so hard for me after Saturday where your quarterback turns it over 5 times, the offense turns it over 6. The Broncos scored 16 points off those turnovers in an overtime win. Right. And one of the more controversial officiating decisions in recent playoff history kind of determined it to take a step back and say, no, coaching change is the right course of action here.
I mean, you look at Baltimore, Tyler Loop, you make a 44-yarder, is Harbaugh gone. It's just these little plays here and there. I went through, all 4 games. I mean, there were 20 total turnovers this weekend in football. 12 interceptions, 16 fumbles. Out of those 16, 8 of them were lost. And, you just look at the percentage game, your chances to win. The fact that Buffalo was in that game, when you lose the turnover margin by 4, it gives you about a 2.8% chance to win. And the fact that they took that game to overtime, Brandon Cooks, it depends. If you're Denver, that's an interception. You're Buffalo, it's the same thing. The Music City Miracle, that's a forward pass. If you're in Buffalo, here it's a backward pass, right? So, you're that close to completing a pass. 3 run plays later, probably only 2 run plays later. You kick that field goal on 3rd down, and then here you go. Matt Prater trots out against his old team, and potentially makes a game-winning field goal to send his team to the AFC Championship game. So, it's I just it's tough because when you're in a place of that kind of success, but you're stuck and you can't get to that Super Bowl, you feel like there needs to be a change made. And I think everything is in the right place. I'm not there in the locker room. I understand that, but when you look at what if Buffalo had a stud receiver, right there, you have Cooks, you have a solid offensive line, you got Knox, you got Kincaid, but you don't have that true number one. What does that look like for Josh Allen? You have a defense that, was up and down, kind of a roller coaster this year, but when time came, they performed, they showed up, they gave, the guys a chance to win the game yesterday. But like the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And so I'm just curious to see, honestly, where does Pittsburgh go? Where does Baltimore go? Yeah. Where does Buffalo go? Because these are teams that have kind of been in the playoffs pretty consistently every year. And now it's like, is there a chance with these all new coaching changes that all three of these teams aren't even in the playoffs next year?
615-737-1045. A lot to cover with Brett Kern as the Patriots move on. They'll face Jarrett Stidham and the Broncos in the AFC Championship game. There is an interesting report on what the holdup was between John Harbaugh and the New York Giants that kind of delayed that becoming official over the weekend. And we've got a national championship game to preview, and we'll do it next.
That's right, yeah.
Welcome back to the show. Fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. HattieB.com is where you can go. Download the Hattie B's app. You get a free dessert simply by downloading the app. Fuel your watch party tonight. Indiana and Miami in the national championship game. Brett Kern is in studio. We will preview the national championship game and make final picks ahead of it. But, of course, you want minute-by-minute updates on the Titans.
What's going on now? Here we go. What do we got?
Well, there is this from Ian O'Connor, who has been all over this stuff, the John Harbaugh sweepstakes, works for The Athletic, and he reported that the contract holdup between John Harbaugh and the Giants apparently centered on the structure, on who he would report to.
Ooh.
So O'Connor over the weekend reported that, hey, the Harbaugh-New York deal is not totally official. The Titans are still monitoring the situation. Yeah. And that Harbaugh even apparently had a conversation with the Titans on Saturday, just kind of updating, hey, here's where things are. He was always working towards the deal with New York, but Harbaugh needed it in writing that he would report directly, not to GM Joe Shane, but owner John Mara. And which
Joe
is what
Shane's like, well, it's been real.
And that's exactly what Harbaugh did in Baltimore, reported directly to ownership, not to Eric DaCosta. Shane, again, according to the reporting, recused himself from the negotiations over the last couple of days. So he didn't go full Liam Cohen and say, no, that guy's out or I'm not in. Yeah. But he did say,
in essence,
yeah, I get to go over that guy's head.
Yeah. Yeah, so. I mean, that's understandable. Somebody like John, wants that. He's going to get it.
Who are the Titans going to get as their head coach? We know today they're meeting in person with both Matt Nagy and Robert Saleh. They have a meeting scheduled with Jeff Hafley, the Packers defensive coordinator, tomorrow, who is in Miami today and who a lot of people expect will just not leave Miami.
Not even leave Miami. Yep.
Obviously, there's a tie there with John Eric Sullivan, the new Dolphins GM, who came from the Packers front office. And then here's Sean McDermott just kind of floating out there in the ether, surprisingly fired by Buffalo earlier this morning. 615-737-1045 if you want to get in with Brett Kern. Tom in Lebanon is up next. Hey, Tom.
Hey, guys. I know we've got a list of coaches that we're having second interviews with and so forth, and the Titans say we narrowed their list down. Do we have any idea how many of these coaches narrowed the Titans out of their consideration?
You're saying the coaches, how many of the coaches have eliminated the Titans from their consideration?
Yeah.
That'd be 0.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Tom. I mean, that's what it is, right? It's down to those 3.
Right.
And the Titans are not going to hire anyone outside of those 3 unless something develops here late in the game with Sean McDermott.
Right. I don't think any coach is going to retract their name. I think Ben Johnson might have done that. Was it last year?
Well, he declined an interview with
maybe
the
declined.
Titans. Yeah, he just chose not to speak to him.
Yeah. So I think when you're a part of the process, you want to get as far as you can. Because that just goes to show where you're at along the process. And as far as if you don't get it with the Titans, you could say, hey, look, I made it to the second interview with the Titans. It's more attractable the more your name's out there. And but I don't think there's any coaches that will pull their name from interviews or from a coaching opportunity.
Bam in Nashville's up next. What's up, Bam?
What's up, Lucas? How you doing, bro?
Good, man. What you got?
I got a few things. First off, if they were willing to give Harbaugh the moon, then is it too late to say they would be possibly interested in the same thing with McDermott? Because the thing is, to me, it's like, okay, and then another thing is, if you know that you're going with Nagy, why are you wasting Saleh's time? Why are you playing with the fans like this? Like, because it seems like everything is just literally going to Nagy. And Nagy, I just don't see a road to where Nagy I don't even see his staff. All he's going to do is bring his buddies in from KC. That's it. I don't see their offense this year was trash. So it's like there's not really okay, I see the potential in where this is going. Or, but why even bring Saleh in? Why not just go ahead and announce that you're hiring Matt Nagy? Because there's no indication that says that they're interested in anybody else but him.
Hey, thanks for the call, Bam. 60 seconds on the clock. Bam's the vet of this show. Bam gets it.
I get his point. It's good, valid.
Look, if the Titans end up hiring Matt Nagy, it has seemed this entire process like that is the one that will, I don't want to say infuriate, maybe that's too strong a word, but that seems to be the name, Brett. And to be honest, I'm a little surprised by it. That seems to be the name that Titans fans have kind of recoiled at the most in this process. Why do you think that is?
Probably just because Nagy came back to the Chiefs. The Chiefs, offense took a step back. They struggled. He had guys suspended for the first 4 games, 6 games. They couldn't protect Mahomes. The offensive line, I think they, at one point, were up to 20 different offensive line combinations. They could not run the football. I think between Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, I remember when the Titans were playing him, I was looking at just like big explosive runs, and between the two of them, they had one. And I threw it up next to Jahmyr Gibbs, Montgomery, some of these dual back systems. And those guys, I think Jahmyr and Montgomery were close to 15 or 16 explosive runs. So I think there's just the fear of like, hey, we need to improve as an offense. If Nagy comes, will it get any better? And that's fair, but I think Nagy obviously coming in say, hey, I don't want to call plays, but I want to be able to delegate. I want to be able to have this person as my passing game coordinator. I need this guy as my run game coordinator. This is my O-line coach, and if it all sounds good to the Titans, the people that are making this hire, then yeah, they're going to, I know everybody is afraid, like, well, he's hiring his boy and he's going to get all his boys from Kansas City. Well, first of all, there's probably a lot of guys in Kansas City that are under contract, and you can't just go from Kansas City to Tennessee with the same position. Like, you have to get promoted. Right. And the Kansas City Chiefs have to allow them to leave. It's not that easy just to bring your boys, but to understand, like, if Bergonzi and Nagy are good friends and they're on the same page, to me, I would feel like, okay, that's great. Like, they know how to work together. I would take that because that's what you want. You want the communication to be good. You want to be on the same page. You don't want two guys butting heads, right? You don't want necessarily like in New York, hey, I don't want to talk to the GM. I'm going to bypass him. I'm just going to go straight up to the owner, right? And so I think, if you're working a profession and you have to do a major project due to your boss and you need somebody to help, like, are you going to want some random guy to help you, or do you want your guy to help you? You're probably going to want your guy because you know him, you trust him. Does it always work out in the NFL? No, it doesn't, but sometimes it does. And I think that's an important element.
I feel like Titans fans have the worst scenario Titans fans have in their head is one of Mike Borgonzi scheming, okay, we're going to make the search as wide-ranging as possible so everybody thinks that we're doing our due diligence. It's all a cover so I can help out my guy, Matt Nagy. And, I think that is sort of the worst version of this that is playing in the minds of Titans fans. And I understand the optics of that, of hiring the guy that you always had the relationship with anyway.
But I think to help your guy, where I've seen it in the NFL is like, okay, the head coach is like, hey, yeah, man, I'm going to help you out. We were boys in college. You can be my offensive quality control coach.
Right.
You can be this. You can make the cards for scout team.
Yeah.
Man, I'm going to help you out. It's not like, oh, I'm the GM. This is the one chance I get to be a GM and be like, hey, you know what, man? Nagy, I'm going to help you out, man. I'm just going to help you out. I got you your head coaching job.
Let me throw you a bone.
Yeah, man, you're good. No. Like Bergonzi's job is on the line. Like, this is, hey, man, yeah, you're going to help me out. I'm going to help you out, but we're doing this thing together.
Yeah.
That is way different than you and your buddy from college. You're the head coach. Like, it'd be like Vrabel. Hey, man, I got a guy from Ohio State. Need to help him out. Yeah, man, you can come be the quality control coach. I'll help you. Yeah, be an analyst. You can help do this. You can help do that. That is totally different than Borgonzi helping out, quote unquote, Nagy. This is more or less like, hey, you're coming here to help us win football games. We need to be on the same page. It's a totally different, quote unquote, help your boy out.
Yeah. You framed that very well, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that
sounded very good.
But again, that's the worst version of this that I think Titans fans are thinking about. And we talked earlier about Brian Callahan hiring the Colts, right? That's a guy he goes way back with from high school. Callahan was always the play caller. Hey, let me get somebody in here that I know, that I have a relationship with, get him an offensive coordinator position. the offense the buck still stops with me. I'm the play caller. I'm the coach, but here's somebody I have good communication with. Nick Holtz was never going to get Brian Callahan fired, right? Like, if the offense was going to get Callahan fired, that's on Callahan.
Right.
Whereas I'm totally with you that the stakes are too high here.
Way too high
for Mike Borgonzi to be doing it for those reasons. Now, their relationship can be a byproduct of, that can lead to an end road of Mike Borgonzi believing he's the best candidate because of the way that they communicate. And Matt Nagy can use that as a path towards setting up his vision in the best way that he knows Borgonzi will buy into.
Yeah.
But
Borgonzi's job is on the line with this hire. So for him, I totally understand if he wants to hire somebody that he trusts, that he knows he has a great relationship with, they see eye to eye on a lot of things. If there is a disagreement, they can handle it. And I think that's very important. And I think it's just a matter of, okay, hey, Nagy, I like you as a head guy. I like that you don't want to call plays, that you're going to be able to delegate. What have you learned since being a head coach in Chicago? And then let's talk about your staff, because your staff is just as important, if not more important, than you kind of being the head guy. So, but yeah, this isn't like that happens a lot in the NFL, happens a lot with coaches. But in that standpoint, it's, hey, I'm the head guy. Yeah, man, I'll help you out. I'll get your feet in the door with NFL coaching, but you're going to do defensive quality control, offensive quality control. You can help with analytics. You can help with stats. I'm going to help your boy out type thing. Helping your boy out in the NFL, you're making $75,000. This isn't, that can help your boy out, but not, this is totally different.
Here's the keys to the kingdom. You can have it.
Oh, yeah. I owe you one. So,
I owe you one.
But to kind of put a bow on this, we got to pick this national championship game. I will say Mike Borgonzi at the very onset of this said we're going to cast as wide a net as possible. And to their credit, the Titans have done that. They have talked to every facet of every candidate, with the exception of Clint Kubiak. But they've from Jason Garrett to Mike McCarthy to Cliff Kingsbury and Brian Daboll to Robert Saleh and Matt Nagy. And to their credit, they, at the end of the day, in the rush for John Harbaugh's signature, were one of 3 teams anybody was actually talking about that Harbaugh was planning on meeting with, right? Mm-hmm. So they've done all of that. They've checked those boxes of being diligent. But if McDermott's suddenly available and you do nothing to even
you have to
approach
entertain
that path, right? You're not doing your due diligence.
The timetable, I'm not sure about that. Obviously, you're getting fired today. Maybe you can get a Zoom with him tomorrow. Maybe it's by Wednesday. I understand that they want to make a hire probably tomorrow, the Titans do. But I think if this is the case, it's like, hey, you can wait 24 hours just to make sure. Like I said, it's not even like, hey, we got to hire McDermott. I'm more like, hey, what went wrong? You went, 90-58?
Yeah.
8-8 in the playoffs. You're a dang good coach. Like, what happened? That's all I would want to know before the process kept going.
If it's Matt Nagy, if it's Robert Saleh, whoever that ends up being the Titans head coach, at that introductory press conference, I should say, one of the first questions is going to be, did you kick the tires? Did you approach or call Sean McDermott? And I think they know that. That will be asked at some point along the road. So we'll see how they kind of toe that line. And as if a wacky divisional round weekend couldn't, get any crazier.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about.
I know the Patriots winning in the snow, and they get to play Jarrett Stidham and the Broncos in the AFC Championship.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the one team that was turnover prone commits no turnovers in Seattle. And obviously, when a team, we're worried about Sam Darnold and his lead league in 20 turnovers, and here they are, no interceptions, no fumbles, and what that looks like in a complete dismantling of a depleted San Francisco 49er team. But New England, props to New England. I think C.J. Stroud looked uncomfortable. A lot of errant passes. I think Hutchinson had 13 targets, only 4 catches. Obviously was throwing interceptions. New England was active, and I think it came down to some of the throws that Stroud did make. They were dropped. You look at New England, Stephon Diggs, that touchdown catch, Booty's catch was unbelievable, and they just made more plays. And still, Houston's defense played well, but anytime you're having a turnover and it's reciprocated with a pick six, when your turnovers are leading to direct points, man, that is tough to overcome.
We will preview the conference championships on Friday, but we've got a national championship game to pick.
This is why college football needs to change their schedule.
Today is a glaring example of it.
100%.
We're running out of time here, so let's get to it. FanDuel Sportsbook has the line down to -7.5.
Okay, so it's dropped a little bit.
Indiana favored. It was 8.5 for most of the week. Some places ESPN Bet still has it at -8.5. But let's go with the FanDuel line. -7.5, Indiana versus Miami. It's a Miami secondary that's slightly banged up, but they've been elite in the trenches, especially in this postseason. Fernando Mendoza has more touchdown passes than he does in completions. Indiana feels like a juggernaut. Can Miami get in the way, get that Indiana train off the tracks, and find a way to win in their home stadium tonight, or at the very least cover? What are you going with tonight?
Do you take anything into a common opponent in Ohio State? Like Indiana playing them in the Big Ten championship game, and then obviously Miami playing them in the playoffs. Because Ohio State made Mendoza look. I mean, he was sacked 3 times, threw an interception. Obviously Indiana won that game 13-10, and it looked like Miami dominated Ohio State a little bit more on a neutral field. So I don't know. Like, do you take that into an equation at all? Because it's a common opponent.
Yeah, both were on neutral fields.
Miami looked better versus Ohio State.
They did.
Indiana, obviously, with
Indiana has unlocked something in this postseason.
Yeah,
that is it, because they've been winning all year, yes, but they've had close calls. To your point, they had to escape with a crazy late game drive against Penn State. Right,
yeah. Iowa. They were down. Iowa. They struggled against Iowa.
Down
at half against Wisconsin.
Against Ohio State, and then they just turned something on in this postseason.
Yeah.
And so the question is this playoff Indiana team just operating at a different level than what we saw from them in the regular season and in the Big Ten championship? But I suppose you could ask the same about Miami.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Bain Jr., Mesidor, 19 sacks, which is second most in the country for a duo, 32 tackles for loss. So will they be able to get pressure on Mendoza? Because if they don't, Mendoza's going to pick them apart. And Miami, I mean, they're talented. Fletcher, they've been running the ball really well, which has helped not necessarily put the game in Carson Beck's hands. They haven't really been turning the ball over much, which is great. But here's Indiana, a team that doesn't make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
And they lead the whole country in the turnover margin. They're plus 21. I think this is, if Miami can have a ground game and a ground presence, stay ahead of the sticks, and really keep the ball out of Mendoza's hands, and they can win that time of possession. I'm starting to see a lot of people picking Miami to definitely cover, which I think Miami does cover. I don't think it's a blowout, but there's a lot of people are still picking Miami to win. So I definitely think it is possible. Miami's going to have to play about a near perfect game, but Indiana has shown that they've struggled against some top tier defenses. They struggled against Iowa, struggled against Ohio State. But if they are clicking on all cylinders, I think they're averaging, 180 yards a game passing. They're almost averaging 200 yards a game running the ball. And so if that juggernaut continues, and Miami's if they can't get to Mendoza, it could be a long night for Miami. But I don't know. I just think in Hard Rock, I think it's going to be a closer game than people think. I originally thought Indiana was going to blow them out. But the more you kind of read things, the more look into it. If Miami can excel at dominating in the trenches, it could be a pretty close game.
Miami can't play this game down 2-3 touchdowns. It's over at that point.
You can't start the game with a pick six.
No, definitely can't do that. Carson Beck, all eyes on you. Yeah. Miami feels like has to somewhat control the pace of this game, right? If they're going to win the 41 minutes time of possession against Ole Miss.
Yep.
And they still almost found ways to.
I know.
Ole Miss is sitting there with a shot at the 35 to win the game. We'll see. You're going with Indiana to win, Miami to cover.
I just think. I think Miami can cover this. I don't know. I mean, I also thought, the 49ers were going to cover the 7, and clearly that didn't happen. So, I mean, last week I went 6-0 in the wild card round, and this week I went 0-4. Yeah. So, hopefully this pick works out.
Defensive backfield a little banged up. Corner Xavier Lucas misses the first half of this game with that targeting call that happened in the semifinal. Damari Brown's been day-to-day. So, they've found ways to make up that gap, and a lot of that has been in the trenches. But I think I'm with you, but I think Indiana covers, man. I just think this is a train that just cannot be derailed right now. What they're doing, they've just continued to defy logic at every turn. And so I'm going to ride with Kurt Cignetti on this one.
What did Ben say, that Cignetti goes to Vegas?
What's that?
That Cignetti goes to Vegas? the head coaching
Yeah, Ben
job.
did
Oh, the
say
Raiders.
that.
Yeah, he did.
That's one job. Like, you don't hear anybody who's interviewing in Arizona, who's interviewing in Bay. Like, I feel like I haven't heard anything
We
about
were talking
some of
about the
these.
Cardinals.
Poor old Cardinals. Monty Austin tough gig over there.
Oh, man.
Bryce Kern, quickly, what you got tonight?
I got Indiana, and I think that Miami's not going to cover. I mean, I've been to a few championship games, and the crowd noise isn't something that you would see normally in like a NFC or AFC championship game or even a divisional round. I feel like championship games are a lot more
sanitized. Yeah,
and
for
that
sure.
you're just like.
So it's not going to be
applauding and
as
cheering
much
at
of a
the
home field
appropriate
advantage.
time. Like if there's a touchdown,
Yep.
crowd's obviously going to go crazy. You got Michael Irvin down on the sidelines about to pass out, but I just really think that Indiana is going to dominate this game.
I think their fan base.
Bryce.
I think their fan base floods that stadium. To be totally honest, that like they did in Atlanta. So we'll see. Storybook endings either way, right? Indiana climbing the mountaintop.
He'll get his Chipotle deal, his Google deal.
Oh, the whole deal. Mendoza in his hometown, and then you got Mario Cristobal trying to lead the U back to where they are used or were used to being in another life. Appreciate it, guys.
We'll see you Monday.
See you. Oh, so no Friday.
No, what is today? Today is
Monday.
Whoa,
We'll see you Friday. We got some conference championship games to pick.
Can't miss that.
Brett Kern and Bryce Kern hanging out in studio with us. Appreciate them as always. We'll catch up with them on Friday, and we'll wrap up the show with some polls next. All right. Eventful enough Monday. National championship game tonight, 6:30 the kickoff in Miami. Buck will be in attendance. We'll see if he comes back heartbroken or gleefully trying to lob onto the tail of the Indiana Hoosiers' success that he has been no part of until a week ago.
Would he even be allowed to be heartbroken? I don't think so.
Well, that's the thing. It's like he's going to jump in and ride this high, but I think we all know deep down there has to be some sort of equity built up, right? Like as a fan,
you got to be calloused.
Exactly.
He's not calloused.
As a fan, the calloused parts of you, that's what makes the peak moments so great. So if you're just hopping on for the good stuff, you don't really get the satisfaction. You can pretend like it's just the greatest thing to happen and you're on cloud nine, but it's going to be a little forced. It's going to be a little forced. So we can all, be happy in the fact that Buck won't actually be happy either way. He'll just be pretending to. If Indiana does indeed roll, which I expect them to do. Can we hear from Curt Cignetti? This was yesterday, I think, in his media availability before the national championship game, always dropping quotes. And this was Curt Cignetti on the idea of this beautiful story that Indiana has been leading up to the national championship.
It is a close team, and I've witnessed quite a bit of sentimentalism throughout the week from some of our seniors who we've been with quite a long time. I think it's time to sharpen the saw now, throw those warm fuzzies out the door, that sentimentalism. It's time to go play a game against a great opponent. We got to have a sharp edge going into this game, and you don't go to war with warm milk and cookies.
There you go. One last quote to leave you with before Curt Cignetti leads his Hoosiers onto the field today against Mario Cristobal, doing it in his hometown for the team that he played for. And I hope it's a fun game. I hope we don't get a repeat of Indiana-Oregon and we're all going to bed at halftime or whatever it might be.
Well, we looked at all the recent finals in the national championships, and it's been quite a spread.
There has not been a one-possession score final in the national championship since Alabama beat Georgia in the 2nd and 26. Tua Tagovailoa to Devontae Smith. Tua inserts the game at halftime, which, by the way, is what I thought Houston should have done with C.J. Stroud. I was sitting there screaming for them to put Davis Mills in the game the way Stroud was playing. They did not. The Patriots move on to the AFC Championship. They'll face Jarrett Stidham and the Broncos. It will be Seahawks and Rams in the NFC, and Sean McDermott just floating out there as now the best candidate on the board as the Titans narrow down their coaching search, and we'll see. We'll see if he is any sort of factor here. I imagine here in the next day or two, things will get very real for the Titans' next head coach. Let's do some polls. Presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Yes, the polls. Should the Titans halt their current process to go for Sean McDermott? 83% say yes, 17% say no.
If it wasn't for the McDermott firing, I'd say the Titans, I'd feel pretty good about the Titans probably announcing their head coach today. But this puts a wrench into everything. And yes, you're not doing your due diligence if you're not at least approaching the possibility of Sean McDermott, who is the best candidate suddenly available.
Surprised that wasn't 100 to zip. Which current Titans head coach finalist would excite you the most? 74% say Robert Saleh, 13 say Nagy, and 13 say Jeff Hafley.
Yeah, I think Saleh, it feels like the guy of the two that were former NFL coaches that had the least to do with why his particular situation didn't work out, right? It's the Jets. Rodgers goes down. He's got Zach Wilson in there. It's the Jets.
Your owner's crazy.
Exactly.
This one surprised me a little bit. Better job, Bills or Ravens? 65% say Bills, 35% say Ravens.
I think I agree. I think there's more there on defense. I don't know what the future of Derrick Henry looks like in Baltimore. What kind of offensive reset will they have to make around Lamar Jackson? We'll see what Robert thinks about that tomorrow if he's able to pick himself up off the bathroom floor.
I was surprised that it was that split. Was it a catch or an interception in Denver? 66% say catch, 34% say interception.
It's a pick, right? Do we agree it's an interception?
I mean, the catch rules are too complicated now.
It is.
It's a pick, I think.
He didn't control it all the way through. Defender ends up with it. Whatever the call on the field was going to stand in my mind, but I didn't have a big problem. I blame Josh Allen 5 turnovers more than I blame a 50-50 officiating decision for the Bills' loss.
Sean McDermott probably does too. And lastly, who you got, Indiana or Miami? 80% rolling with the Hoosiers tonight, only 20 rolling with Michael Irvin's Hurricanes.
I think they get it done. We'll see what happens. We'll be back to process it all tomorrow. I was going to say preview it, but we're past that point. Cover 2 will do that. 3HL as well later today. We'll see if Buck is here. We'll see if Robert's here. Might just be Ross and I for 3 hours tomorrow. Either way, we'll talk to you guys then.